Welcome to the Once Upon an Island podcast, number 2 on the charts, number 1 in your hearts. I'm your host, Wesley, and of course, I am joined by my lovely co-host,
Mary.
And here we are, doing season 26. One of the seasons, Mary, you were unspoiled by going into it, though I think you knew who the winner was in the deepest, darkest parts of your heart.
I really didn't, because for some reason in my mind, I thought that Cochrane never won a season. So I went into the season thinking that anybody was a possibility except Cochrane. So I was like baffled when we got to the final finale.
When did you finally realize it was Cochrane? When did that realization happen?
At Final Tribal, I think. When he was doing so well and it was like, clearly it wasn't Dawn, because I kept thinking, well, it must be Dawn then, because it's obviously not Sherry. And yeah, then he did such a good job at Final Tribal. And I turned to you and I said, didn't you tell me that Cochrane's never won the game? And you said, I've never said that.
I've never said that.
Oh, so I just imagined that. So it was a surprise.
When
I enjoyed
we watched
it.
South Pacific, I definitely hammered about how bad he was that season, knowing this was coming up on a season you hadn't seen yet. And I know it's been mentioned he was a reward on Game Changers.
I do remember him being a reward, because I thought that was really weird that a person is a reward.
Yeah,
yes.
well, yeah, it is whether they're one or not.
Right.
Imagine, by the way, if Sandra Diaz-Twine had won that reward on Game Changers and Cochrane came to visit her to give her advice on how to play Survivor.
That'd be hilarious.
Cochrane would have just been like, I got nothing to tell you.
Yeah.
Anyways, yes, let's talk about fans versus favorites too. This is our deep dive into it. I will give a little context. Normally we do these deep dives within like a couple days of having seen the season. It has been a little while due to outside of the podcast circumstances. We got a new baby, basically. So, because we are foster parents, I guess I should say that. That's just a very brief reason. So things got delayed a little bit. If we mess up on something, a little grace is all I'm asking. We're going to do our absolute best. I've watched this season like 5-6 times. So if anyone shouldn't be messing up, it's me. But who's most likely to mess up, Mary?
Me.
No, me. Okay. Yeah, no,
you.
me. No, you.
No,
me.
you.
All right.
Okay.
No, you. All right. So we're not going to hammer on too long about that, but I just want to throw out there that these podcasts are early and ad-free on Patreon. All Survivor seasons, we do fantasy games for that. Join us on Patreon for it. The winner of every fantasy season, so like the person who won 47 and 48 and whoever's going to win 49 and 50, they get to pick story videos. They don't have any opposition, which is like, who do you want me to cover? And they pick it. And that's it. Like, that's the entire discussion. It is no back and forth, nothing, as long as it's a Survivor player. All right. Well, with that, Mary, let's talk through the returnees for fans versus favorites too, like the cast, and what your thoughts were on them coming back. And it's okay to be like, I didn't even remember this person. Like, sure. You don't have to be like, oh, I have a deep admiration and love for this person. Okay. So Mary, starting with Francesca, you run us through the order of their boot order, basically. Francesca, what were your thoughts on bringing back a first boot from Redemption Island?
I know they only did it because Philip was also on her tribe and they wanted some drama. So it was just ironic. The only reason I still remember her now is that she was the first boot again, and how Cochrane said, that's evil. Nobody would do that. Right. And then like chuckles evilly or whatever in his.
She would have been lost to time had she not been brought back to be the first boot off a second time.
Yes. It's crazy.
Do you think she ever ate that rock?
No. I hope not.
So anyways, she was brought back, let's say before she got first booted again. What are your thoughts on just bringing back a first boot? This is the first time it's ever happened on Survivor up to this point. Next season, Tina Weston will come back. She was a first boot on All Stars, but she won a season prior, so it's not quite the same.
I think that, like, I like the idea because it seems so unfair sometimes that the first boot goes so quickly. Like, but that's the game. I think it would be fun to have like a season of all first boots because I don't know. It's usually like who was first boot. I don't remember any other first boots except maybe like Jelinski.
And that's why they've never done a season of first boots, because like you don't remember these people.
Nobody remembers them. So yeah, I mean, like because she was the first boot again, she's memorable. Her personality is fun. I wish she would have lasted a little bit longer, but at the same time, there was so much drama in the season. Her and Philip's drama would have been secondary also. So yeah, I mean, sure, a favorite. No, first boots can't be favorites. They just can't.
This is an underrated season, and one of the reasons for me is because Francesca goes first. Like, I love
pretty funny
the poetic stupidity. I don't want to say justice because like, does she deserve it? No, I don't know. But it's poetic stupidity. Like, I love the drama of this season. I love the stupidity of this season. I think it gets a little dull in the back couple episodes, but I think that there's a lot of gameplay here, but there's also a lot of drama, and it's just like the perfect blend of absolute chaos and Survivor. And I think it's overlooked because of what we're going to get to eventually. I mean, we're going to go through who's the next player after Francesca, returnee wise, that gets booted.
Brandon.
Okay, so no, it's right now. Yeah. I think this is why a lot of people don't like the season, because the season basically shows the descent of Brandon over 5 episodes until he blows up and goes like, I'm the Arthur of my fate. It's like, he's meant to say author, but he's saying Arthur. Well, it's the way he pronounces it. He says like, I'm the Arthur of my fate. The descent of Brandon, while sad, on Survivor for me is very entertaining, especially with context that remembering this is 6 months after. I know Mary's heard me say this 10,000 times before, but it's harder to think because there's 3 seasons in between, but this is reality only 1 summer later than when he played and got manipulated by Coach. Gets manipulated by Coach in the summer of 2011, has the show air that very fall where his family, it sounds like, made fun of him during the season. He then gives away immunity to Albert only to be voted off, which I'm sure spawned more people making fun of him and making him feel lesser than. He's 19 years old, married with 2 kids. Gotta throw that in there. He goes to the reunion, gets publicly humiliated by his uncle Russell, who is a Survivor legend. And then 5-6 months later, here he's on Survivor playing again at 20 years old, I think this time. And sometime during 2012, I don't know when, he gets divorced from his wife. Or they file for divorce. It's one or the other. So I don't know if that happened before the season or maybe it was after this season. Point being is, it's a very chaotic year of this kid's life. I know he's an adult, but
he's
almost a teenager still. Yeah.
It's just this was not entertaining for me.
No, Mary did not like this.
I have never, ever, ever cried while watching Survivor, except for like every now and then with a loved one visit where it's just sweet or something like that. I might tear up, but I've never just cried. And I cried in the episode about Brandon because it was just so emotional. Like for me, I feel like Brandon, the team should have had a psychologist that vetted everyone that came on the show and made sure that they were ready, because he should not have been on the show. He was not ready for this. So I don't know. I just felt like that was the show's fault for casting him, just because they wanted, again, more drama. And it was not beneficial or healthy for him to be there.
When they promoted this season, Mary, they used on their ads, one of the songs they used was Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne to promote the return of people like Philip and Brandon. And at that point, sure, it had already been filmed, and like the advertising team of CBS is not deciding what's going to happen and who's going to be on the show. Yeah. But like they were leaning into this. This was not like, oh no, we made a mistake. This was like, oh, look how crazy it is on Survivor.
Tune in to see all the drama.
Yeah. Right. Now, I don't think Brandon, I'm with you. Brandon should not have been brought back for the season, if anything. Now, context where we're at currently in life. It is the year 2025 when we were recording this. Brandon, I don't know if he's incarcerated, but he was arrested for gang-related crimes within the past 6 months, I think, actually, from us recording this. So I'll throw that out there that like things did not improve from here. So like, I don't think he ever should have been brought back. I was hoping that he would improve. Like, let's say this never happened, the season he never gets cast. I was hoping he would improve as a person, because he clearly wanted to be a good guy his first time around. But then this season, he seemed determined from the get go to like, when I go out, I'm burning down the camp. I'm peeing in the beans of rice. He said this stuff like multiple times, even in secret scenes. He says this stuff. This is not like, oh, wow, that came out of left field. Like Brandon openly said, I am going to do these things so many times that I'm surprised the show didn't pull him.
I'm surprised too that it took the try of voting him out and so much drama. It was just, it was really painful to watch, honestly. I feel like it got better after he left for me because there wasn't as much.
Well, they tribe swapped like the very next episode too.
Sure.
Which does help.
That does help. But it was just too much for me personally. If we rewatch this, I would like start after.
I don't know why I would have you rewatch this season.
I don't know
now.
either. I'm just saying, if that were to happen, I would watch like the first episode and then skip to to the merge.
I really like the pre-merge. I like, because there's other things going on, but it really is just like a fascinating thing for me to see like them openly allow this to happen. And this is just over 42 minutes per 3 days. You know, what else was being like, I said, there's some secret scenes that indicate this as well, but there was so much more, I'm sure, that was like, and they just chose to ignore it, the show. Well,
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, and also like, so the favorites are winning. Besides the very first immunity challenge that they lost.
Hold on, we're not going episode by episode. Yeah, we'll go through the player.
Well, I was just talking about like, sorry.
Okay.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I mean,
We
yes,
can
the
finish.
favorites are dominating. So Brandon blowing up was just like, it wasn't even like they were losing.
They volunteered for Brandon to go home at that point. Yes. That's just how bad it was. Corinne.
What are your thoughts? Well, I didn't really get it. I mean, in terms of Brandon, when you saw he was coming back before you saw everything happen this season, were you looking forward to him?
Yeah, because I liked him on his first season. Like I like Brandon as a person. I feel like he had so much potential. He was just really looking for a good mentor. He needed a good mentor to lead him along.
He needed not the
instead,
Hanses.
he kept being manipulated and duped, and that like turned him to the dark side. So
and not coach.
I was hoping that this would be a better season for him. I didn't know anything about his life or what's happened. So yeah, I was looking forward to Brandon playing until episode 1 was over.
You were hoping he would redeem the Hans family.
Yes, I really was.
Corinne from Gabon.
Corinne.
Do you remember her?
Yeah, I do remember her. I mean, I don't necessarily, I remember her from this season. And as soon as she got on, like, I remember people's faces really well and like mannerisms. I may not remember exactly why I remember them, but yes. So I remembered her being kind of like evil player or villainous tendencies.
She was purposefully mean on Gabon, and then she played on The Amazing Race with Eliza one time, which we did see. That's
probably why I also
Mary
remember her
likes
more.
Amazing Race, I think, more than Survivor, for being honest, because it's more about the adventure and less about the drama.
I love seeing the world and traveling and all that. So yeah. I enjoy Amazing Race.
Amazing Race, by the way, great show. If you want to watch one filled with Survivor players, season 7 is Boston, Rob, and Amber. Highly recommend. But 31 is the one that had Corinne and Eliza, along with Rupert and his wife, and Brett and Chris from season 33. It was kind of a random pairing, those two. But yeah, Corinne. So she comes back. You see her on screen. You're like,
no, this makes sense. No, this makes sense to me. Yeah, I remember her being like a really strong character.
So we have two people that you think would have been our solidest favorites on the favorite side, because you don't think Francesca, the first boot's a favorite. Yeah.
No.
I don't think Corinne's a favorite. As she said in her preseason interview, she's like, I think I'm a producer favorite.
Oh.
I don't think I'm a fan favorite. And to that, I agree.
But it's not fans versus fans favorites. This is fans versus favorites.
Mary, that's true. It doesn't clarify who the favorites are. All right, who's after Corinne?
Philip.
Philip. They had to bring him back.
Did they have to? He's not a favorite at all. And
outside of Boston Rob, he's the only one carrying Redemption Island.
Okay, and
they had to bring him back.
They didn't have
this
to
season
at
is
all.
Okay, so I want to point out the casting of the season are people who only played once and never won, and they seem to favor seasons that were in the dark ages, basically. One's closer to 26. Like Corinne and Eric slipping in are like kind of like Eric. They had to. I feel like they had to for a sequel season, but Corinne, like they didn't need to. That was felt more like because they couldn't get Corinne in Heroes vs. Villains. They're like, okay, what's the next time we have a returnee season? Let's get Corinne on. But Philip
is
had
not
to
a
come
favorite
back.
in no
He is
sense
the
of the word.
specialist.
He's just drama for TV. Like this was fans versus dramatic characters for TV.
Now you're getting the real title.
I mean, there's
season.
a couple that I would say are not that, but yeah.
No, I think half
I was so disappointed
favorites.
when Philip came out. I was like, are you serious?
Philip's fantastic TV. He's just this season he's toned down. I'll give him that. Last time he was a lot. This time he's toned down. This time he's like, I'm going to be like Boston Rob and follow the BR rules of how to play. And like people like, I mean, seriously, through 9 episodes, it seemed like Philip was running his tribe.
Yeah.
Not that people were respecting him, to be clear, but that he was running his tribe. That's a very confusing
people let
thing.
Philip think he was in charge to keep him happy.
I mean,
because there was so much drama with Brandon who wasn't happy.
Weren't they doing what Philip said though?
Yeah, because it didn't matter.
Because they were winning so often?
Yes.
But then he gets on the tribe that loses, and they're not going against Philip's wishes when they do the tribe swap.
I think Philip definitely has confident leader abilities, and when you're out on the island and you have nothing else going for you and you've been losing, then sure, you want to hold on to something, and then he can be the scapegoat if you don't win or whatever. But no,
Philip and Brandon on tribe together was a mistake.
He's not a true leader.
No. These two together, there only needs to be one quote unquote crazy person on the island, and putting two, I mean, on the same tribe, and they put two on the same tribe, and like they had to know this something like this was going to happen.
Right.
Philip, I'm glad they brought him back. I'm also glad Philip only makes it to episode 10. I think there's such a thing as too much Philip, and we were on the verge of it. We're going to go through episode by episode. But I just want to say, Philip, so you're not a favorite.
No, not a favorite.
I tend to disagree. All right, who's next?
Malcolm.
Malcolm, favorite.
Definitely.
Obviously.
Yes.
Like that was a lock from 25.
Yes.
We just talked about Philippines. Malcolm makes sense.
Yes, totally.
But do we need to say more? Let's move on.
No.
Who's next player?
Andrea.
This is one I'm like, no, they're not a favorite.
Like she was a minor kind of character in Redemption Island. I feel like there are probably people who liked her because she's cute and sweet. And
Why
she
do we
had
have 3 players from Redemption Island though?
I don't know.
Well, Philip was the only one. Was the only one that you come back from that season. That season wasn't very, very good.
Sure. But I mean, whatever. She's somebody's favorite somewhere.
I mean, I think it's that she's young and she's cute.
Yes, exactly.
Frankly, I think that's why she got cast.
Yes.
Like, because there was nothing on season 22 that made me go, oh, Andrea, gotta bring her back.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, even when I did her story video, I'm like, there's like not much here.
She does way more in this season than she did in Redemption.
She does. She's a much better person this season. So it worked out in the sense of that she improved. But if we're talking about, okay, the season hasn't been filmed yet, hasn't been shot yet, like Andrea, like it feels like a weak spot on the cast. All right, who's next?
Brenda.
Brenda made sense. She was evil on season 21. I called her a lost member of the Black Widow Brigade, but then this season, it's the opposite of Andrea.
Yes. She had a really good first season, and this season she just felt like coasting a little bit. She was like nice to people and kind, and as her dad said, she stayed humble. I don't know. I liked her this season.
She helps Dawn with her teeth.
Yes.
And then asked Dawn to take her teeth out.
Well, yeah.
She was the tooth fairy.
Yeah. Okay.
Give me those teeth.
I liked Brenda. I think she was a good choice. I think maybe she didn't live up to her potential as much in this one. But again, this season was so full of character and drama. She could have been doing stuff all the time. We had no idea, or it just wasn't working out. Maybe she was just tired.
Even
and
in
enjoying
Secret
the
Scenes,
beach.
Cochrane's like, what does Brenda do? She just like stares at the rock out, like stands in the water and stares at the rock all day. Like, I don't know what Brenda does.
Okay. Well,
no, I think Brenda
this
really
wasn't her season.
Anything.
Yes. Yeah. But it still makes sense based on her previous season. So yeah, I was excited to see Brenda.
But she did so much better than last time.
She lasted longer.
She lasted longer. And doing my when I made her video, because she's one of the 5 people who got picked, I was doing my deep dive in her. I was like, shoot. I was like, there was a final 3 situation where Brenda wins. There was like it didn't work out because she needed Dawn to be on her side, and Dawn was never on her side. Dawn was on Cochrane's side.
Yeah.
So it was never going to work because Dawn was never really with Brenda more than Cochrane. So she really needed Cochrane gone to make that happen. But yeah, Brenda does better than before, has a final 3 that potentially wins. She just doesn't really do much to make for good TV. So they kind of left her out of the show for the most part.
I agree.
With that in mind, I think the next player is in a similar situation. Who's next?
Eric.
He makes okay, but first off, both favorites, Brenda and him. But I understand why they both got cast. It's unfortunate they both tanked, but Eric, they should have saw coming tanking.
I don't. Well, were they hoping for a strategist here? Or were they hoping for him to make dumb moves again? I think they were hoping for him to make dumb moves.
They couldn't stop reminding us that he gave away immunity to Natalie. Now, for context, everybody, in case you forgot, he gave away immunity to Natalie in season 16. He was a character before that, but that's all anyone remembers is that one moment.
Yeah.
He was actually a fun character before that. He tried to make moves and stuff. He tried to do things. He was athletic and good, and he was like a super fan. Eric was a character on Micronesia. Eric and Caramoan was like, what if I like don't do anything? And he basically admits to season, he's like, I'm planning on doing nothing because I'm bad at it. And it's like, you know what that is, Mary? Insecurity.
Yeah.
I wonder what would have caused that.
What would have caused
Could
that?
Could it be the show constantly hammering home about how dumb his move was of giving immunity to Natalie? And that's all they can talk about when they probably called him up. They're like, hey, like what? Okay, so Mary, I have to ask, with Eric being cast in season, why isn't Natalie cast on this season? Why isn't Natalie Bolton cast instead of Andrea?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she couldn't do it.
Now, Natalie Bolton was an alternate for Heroes vs. Villains. I haven't seen her on anything else. She doesn't seem like a busy lady in terms of TV. Natalie Bolton and Eric on the same season would have been like a no-brainer. Duh, put them on the same tribe.
Sure.
But they gave Eric nothing to work with here. They gave him. What was he supposed to do?
Wouldn't that have been even worse though? He's already insecure about all this stuff, and then here comes Natalie.
He needs revenge. He has to take out Natalie. That would have given him something.
That wouldn't have given him revenge.
You think Eric wouldn't have done that?
I don't think he would have.
I gotta say, fun fact: Eric made the logo for this channel. Every time I talk about Eric, I gotta mention that because it's one of those like fun things. He made the logo for the channel. The original logo I made, but that was like back in 2019, early 2020. Eric made the updated one, which is the one you're probably familiar with. Anyways, Eric gets even. Oh, so the Heroes versus Villains reunion, Mary. They're like, here are the 5 dumbest moves ever on Survivor. 4 of them are by players who were on Heroes versus Villains, whether it was on that season or not. And then Eric in the crowd. They're like, here's the 5th one. He's out in the crowd. He wasn't even on the season.
Aww.
And Eric's like out there with his mohawk. He's like, hey guys. Hey. Well, he was clearly brought, like he knew.
I know.
He knew.
But still, it's just like, I hate that he's known for that.
That's all he's known for.
Yeah.
So he gets hammered about that for years and years. Comes back. He's like, I'm not going to get hammered anymore. I'm tired of being hammered. And like, dude, all the way up through the Winners at War episode they did leading up into Winners at War, they were still bringing up Eric gave away immunity to Natalie.
Yeah.
Mary, the reunion of Ghost Island, they bring Eric on stage.
Oh my gosh. At
the reunion to talk about him giving away immunity to Natalie. That is 20 seasons after it happened.
That's ridiculous.
They're still talking about it. As I said, the episode leading up into Winners at War, Parvati's like, it was so funny to trick Eric out giving immunity to Natalie. It's like, that's all they want to talk about. It's like when Sierra voted out her own mother. Sorry, that's actually a future spoiler. We're not trying to spoil anything past 26, but I think it'd be hard pressed for you not to know that fact. Anyways, Eric, they had to see this coming. They had to. I mean, they didn't. I feel like they didn't.
They feel like they didn't. I feel like they thought, let's get all the craziest players we can.
I mean, my gosh.
Toss in a few actual favorites so it looks like we're doing the right thing.
Eric's an actual favorite too, in my mind.
And then see the bomb go off.
Yeah. Drop Corinne or drop Andrea, replace with Natalie Bolton. And I'm like, okay, this is perfect. Like these two were both fans last time. Look what Natalie did to Eric.
Yeah.
And then have them play again. And at least there's something there. Like at least you have a built-in story from the beginning of the show. Otherwise you're kind of come up outside of like Philip and Francesca, and I guess and Dawn and Cochran, which by the way, Philip, Francesca, yes, rivalry. Dawn and Cochran, not a rivalry. So you have only like one storyline leading into the season to start off with, and you could have had Natalie versus Eric, the most infamous storyline from the first Fans versus Favorites.
Survivor rivals.
Oh, dude, like talk about a missed opportunity for that casting. All right, so Eric goes out on a medical evacuation because he is starving. Mind you, he went on like 2 or 3 rewards in the post-merge. So it's not like he didn't go on any rewards. He was eating. I mean, the thing is the episode before, Brenda, when she sacrificed the family reunion, or sorry, the family reward, Eric was on the boat, like enjoying burgers and stuff. So he was eating. He's still malnutritious.
Yeah.
Malnutritious. Malnourished?
Yeah, malnourished. It didn't mention this or anything, but it's still possible to just like eat that food and then let it goes right through you and you're not getting any of the nutritional value because you're starving.
True.
But,
so it goes in one hole and out the other.
Yeah.
Doing nothing for you.
So I don't know. Anyways,
Eric
that's
did
Eric.
make a video explaining all about that, and I put that in his, because he's one of the people, him, Malcolm, Brenda have story videos, and Eddie, a fan, from my opinion though, a favorite, a fan has a video, and Cochran will have a video, so it's 5. Yeah, Eric's one of them where he explained like in a video like what really happened, and it makes more sense. I encourage you to watch the video.
Gotcha.
All right, so who's next?
Next is Dawn.
Well, let's just talk about Dawn and Cochran. They're from the same season. Dawn, I don't really get, but I get her way more than Andrea. At least Dawn was somebody on South Pacific for me.
I think they really wanted Cochran, and then it just made sense to get Dawn as well. Because,
what didn't make sense? Get Natalie for Eric?
Well, you don't know what happened. Maybe they tried to get Natalie. You don't know.
I know.
So yeah, Dawn and Cochran, best friends, rivals, best friends again.
Nah, Dawn never turned on Cochran. I think that they were never rivals. Dawn doesn't work like that.
I think Dawn doesn't, as emotional as she does try to make strategic moves that are smart and have nothing necessarily to do with her feelings or her relationship. So yeah, in South Pacific, she quote unquote turned on Cochran, whatever.
No, she didn't. Cochran turned on her. Yeah. Dawn was like, I won't tell everybody that you're doing this. That's how she turned on them, I guess.
So that they both betrayed each other in some form slightly. But yeah, it wasn't.
I disagree. I don't think Dawn turned on Cochran. Cochran turned on Dawn.
Yes, Cochran started it.
Cochran
I'm just saying.
You're saying Dawn was going to end it?
I'm just saying there was a slight rivalry that could have been something there. Because clearly this is the show about drama and rivalry, but Donna and Cochran are both too good of players and people, I think, to let that affect them.
Oh, no, yeah. They definitely I don't know if they probably said preseason or whatever to each other, because I'm sure they knew we're being cast like, hey, let's work together. And like that's what happened this season.
Yeah.
Any time Cochran's like, maybe it's time to get out Dawn, he's just telling the camera what they want to hear. There's no way Cochran's ever seriously considering getting rid of Dawn.
Right.
At any point during the season.
Yeah, I think he knew he could beat her.
That, and she was such like that, having that +1 on the vote is so important. Like, you always know I got 2 votes. Like, you don't have to worry about your +1. And it goes all the way back to Boston Rob and Amber and season 8, where it's like Boston Rob's like, I always know I have this +1. You know, and it goes further back than that. But that's the first time I can think of where somebody's like, I know, guarantee no matter what, this person's voting with me. Yeah, Dawn for me, it makes way more sense than Andrea, so she's fine. Like, as a casting choice, I do think, again, drop Andrea, add Natalie. We have a better cast. Cochran, of course. Yes. Cochran ate up the screen on South Pacific. Again, though, 3 people from the same season. If we had to drop somebody between Brandon, Dawn, and Cochran, it needed to be Brandon. Apparently,
for sure.
I mean, like, even just after the reunion show, I'd have been like, we need to really look at Brandon. He's 19 years old, getting lambasted hard by everybody. Yeah. Is he mentally handling this okay?
No.
Yeah, no, was the answer. But
no was the answer.
Now, had Brandon just played South Pacific and not been manipulated, like, had he not been manipulated and had not given immunity to Albert and not been lambasted on national television, I'd be like, yeah, Brandon's probably fine. But all those things happen.
Yes.
I can't imagine me being 19 and that happening. So, all right, that's all the returnees. We basically concluded you think most of them are favorites.
Sure. 50-50.
Okay. That's all right. I'm feeling. I'm truly, I mean, my biggest gripe really is we should have dropped, Brandon, but also dropped Andrea, replaced with Natalie. And I'll stand behind that. That's like the most obvious. Like, how is Eric and Natalie not on the same season? How did Natalie never get brought back? Number 1. And number 2, why is Eric and Natalie never together?
Sure.
All right. So we're going to go episode by episode. I don't want to sit too long in each episode. So we're just going to hit the highlights as we do every time. I have to remind myself, because we only do this every 3 or 4 months. You know, we do the weekly podcast during the season. It's so much easier to remember what we're doing. Okay. So, all right. We're in the Philippines again, in the same location as season 25. Keep that in mind, because 27 and 28 are in the Philippines, the country, different part of the Philippines. I personally think this part of the Philippines, Mary, just my opinion, is prettier than when they go to, I know we watched Cagayan recently, so I don't know if you remember the location that well. Do you remember this location either?
No.
Mary?
They all look, it's a beach with palm trees. Yeah.
Personally, I think this part of the Philippines for 25 and 26 are prettier. 25, it rained a lot, so it might be hard to tell, but I think this part's prettier than when they go to Blood versus Water / Cagayan, that part of the Philippines. So just want to throw out there, because one day when we start doing these deep dives, we're going to stop talking about the location as much, because it's not going to matter. It's just going to be the same country 15, 20 times in a row. So I like to mention it now that we can talk about it.
Sure.
All right. Fans vs. Favorites 2, we kind of talked about that. So we open up with everybody walking in, and the fans, in my opinion, are mostly not fans. I think they're mostly recruited.
Sure.
Also how I felt about the first time, but they covered it up better. But here it's like, people are coming out and they're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, as he got off the chopper, they're like, oh.
I'm sure there was one person who said something about Philip, because I remember that.
Sherry's
vaguely.
A fan. Sherry's a legit fan.
Yes, Sherry said something about, man, I didn't want to see Philip or something like that. But yeah, for the most part, it was just like, yay, the other tribe's here.
Obviously, Malcolm is the only person here. It's kind of like when the first Fans vs. Favorites happened and nobody knew really who Amanda was. This time they don't really know who Malcolm is because the season hasn't aired yet. So I don't knock anybody for not knowing Malcolm, but like, there's other people. It's like almost no reaction they get from I don't know. It's like supposed to be like this epic entrance and ends up kind of being like, eh.
And that's what happens when you recruit people, I guess.
Should have brought Boston Rob back for a 10th time. Could have got a big reaction there. Anyways, yeah, no, the recruiting is out of hand. So we have the opening challenge, and almost reminiscent of Heroes vs. Villains, where Stephanie popped out her shoulder. Shamar's like, break her shoulder or whatever. He's like saying on silence. And while Courtney does in Heroes vs. Villains, it's funny. When Shamar does it here, Jeff's like, what did you say? Do you remember this, Mary?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Shamar was just like, oh, I just joking.
Just
go for it. Just encouraging my team, basically.
Dude, Shamar, for the time he is on the fans, is the center of the show's attention. And I'm pretty sure the center of the tribe's attention too.
Oh yeah. He's a big character. Definitely.
He's just like, and out the gate here, my first note, almost immediately, one arriving at the fans tribe, he fights with Matt, who is working, like almost immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Shamar, somebody maybe they shouldn't have cast either.
I don't.
He seems like he has issues that are deeper than just like, I don't like being on, or like, I don't like being here, or something like that.
Yeah, that was another thing with Shamar. He was so negative, and then he would just explode. And Sherry was the only one who could kind of keep him calm. And it was like he wasn't. He even said it on the show at some point, like he was suffering from PTSD. And we're like, should a soldier returning from Iraq suffering from PTSD be on Survivor? I don't think so. This is not like a beach vacation. We're just going to chill and rest and relax. This is trauma kind of getting introduced to suffering, which is not good. So he was another player I was disappointed about casting. Not that Shamar himself was, I don't know. It's just like, obviously a soldier with PTSD shouldn't be on a TV show, in my opinion. But what do I know?
Yeah, I don't know. PTSD is, we're not doctors. We cannot diagnose anybody.
No,
Same
I'm just saying
reason why I
Shamar
can't say
said that.
Yeah. Same reason I can't say anything for Brandon. But I will say Shamar definitely seemed like he had more going on. That again, whoever did the psych test for these players really dropped the ball with Brandon and Shamar, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Definitely both of them. So right away, they land on the favorites tribe, the favorites do. And Philip's like, this is just like when my father served in World War II. And like, no, it's not, Philip. No, it is absolutely not. There's no world where this is the same. But I appreciate Philip's willingness to put himself out there like that. Yes. I mean, the thing is you hear him outside of the show on the few things I've heard him on. It's like, no, Philip's the same on and off the show. This is not, I mean, I'm not saying it's not for the show, but
I'm sure
it's also legit. Yeah. He has created the BR rules. Now, Mary, what do you think about Philip going, okay, I need to be more like Boston Rob and I have my own rules based on how he played? What do you think about this?
I guess it worked for him, but honestly, I truly think the only reason Philip made it as far as he did in this season was because of all the other characters and the people he was playing with. So like, yeah, he came up with these rules and he's going to control his tribe and all this stuff, but he never was actually in control. Like, sure, everyone did what he said, but I think they were just placating him because they had to placate Brandon, and it was like too much to try and...
Is it placate or placate? I never know which one way to say that word.
Okay, placate?
Oh, I don't know. I'm asking.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. You said placate, and I was like, for a second, it took me...
So they're pacifying Shepard.
Yeah, no, that's the same thing.
And also having to pacify Brandon. And I think it was just too much to handle. And so they were just like, yeah, let Shepard say whatever he wants. As long as we're winning, as long as it doesn't matter. We can all get stupid nicknames and whatever. Stealtheros
2.0.
Yeah, and just roll with it until their plan diverged from Philip's plan. And then Philip had to go. But yeah, I mean, I think the only one who actually believed in him was Andrea and Dawn. Dawn was somehow under his thumb.
Even then.
But even then, most everyone was just like, yeah, Philip, whatever.
So day 2, Cochran, just like his feet are swelling like 3 times the size. I don't remember Cochran having this issue in South Pacific. I remember him like, he like lollygagged out. I don't know if that's the right word. He like kind of skipped out into like, he skipped through a field of flowers out into the water. Kind of frolicking, maybe that's the word, out into the water in season 23, but I don't remember him getting sunburned like this. It's like, has Cochran not stepped out of the house since the last time he played Survivor and his body's reacting to that?
Probably not.
I mean, I know they are in a different part of the world. Caramoan, I don't know. We're in Philippines now. Before they were not in the Philippines for South Pacific. So yeah, it's a different part of the world, but Cochran, dude, just like, holy crap. You know what though? This is kind of like, I can't talk about the next season yet.
No.
It's too much because there's some similarities here. Anyways, the winner here, Cochran, he like almost in a way, this disarms people. I mean, he already disarms people through self-deprecating humor.
Yes.
But this kind of disarms people as well. Like, Cochran's not a threat. He can't even like,
he can't stand up to the sun.
Yeah, he can't even walk outside the shelter without almost dying. So, yeah.
True.
The fans win immunity, very reminiscent of season 16, where the fans won the first immunity as well. Francesca's voted out 6-4. This was not a landslide vote. This was a close vote.
Yeah.
But Francesca bit the dust again.
Poor
She's never going to play a third time, right?
Oh, I would hope not. Like, that's just...
But if she does it at this point, I mean, she should do it with the intention of going out first again.
No, my
Just
word.
for the you got to be like really be okay with yourself though to do that a third time.
Yeah.
And I would be.
Yeah.
I would be like, everyone hail me as the worst loser ever 3 times to get voted off first. Though I definitely by the 3rd time, I'd be like, I want it to happen this time. I want it to happen. The 2nd time, I clearly didn't. The 3rd time, okay. Like what? Fool me once. What's that? Shame on you. Fool me twice. Shame on me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fool me. Yeah, exactly. So the 3rd time you're being voted off, that's fool me. No.
That's fool me
once is the first time you vote off. Yeah. Fool me 3 times. So clearly I'm the fool. I don't know. All right. Episode 2. Brandon doesn't like Francesca went. And he's like, Dawn, this is why you're going to lose the game. While Dawn does lose the game, this is not why she lost the game.
Yeah, it wasn't because of Dawn that Francesca went home. I mean, I'm sure she was in on the vote, obviously, but like, I don't know why he went after Dawn. He was just.
Well, he also kind of got after Cochran, but he's really more on Dawn in that conversation that we saw.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the show left it in as maybe one of their hints, like Dawn's not going to win, I guess. Not that we needed it, but it was there. Really, this is where Brandon starts. As you said, you would watch episode 1 again, and then want to skip because this is where Brandon starts going a little nuts. So
yeah.
He's like, I feel Russell's blood flowing through me. It's like, whoa, that is the opposite approach from last time when he said, I want to redeem the Hans family name. Yeah. This is the opposite. Now he's embracing the Hans family name.
I know. So
dude, sad. How was this not revealed? Like, it doesn't seem like, I mean, if Brandon was hiding it in the pre-game interviews and stuff, like maybe he was completely hiding. I don't remember that. I remember watching pre-game stuff. It's like, no, Brandon was coming in with a different intention this time.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he hit it, got on the show. He's like, now I can reveal my true intentions. I don't think that Brandon's that good of an actor.
No.
So Brandon's super nice the next day, and Cochran's like, Brandon's a little, so I've said this in the past, and I want to be very clear when I say this, that I am not a doctor. I am not diagnosing. I want to say that. It feels and looks a lot like Brandon is bipolar. Mm-hmm. That may not be the right word for it, but I think generally people know what I'm saying when I say that it feels like Brandon's bipolar, because the next day he's like super nice to everybody, and Cochran's like, Brandon reminds me of a serial killer. Yeah. Because Brandon like flip-flops between like being super nice and like super emotional in a negative way.
Yeah. At least with Philip, you know what kind of crazy you're getting. You know, like he's consistent. But yes, Brandon was like, he was trying to fight it. He was like annoyed and mad and angry, and then he would feel bad. And so he would try to be nice for a while, but then it wouldn't work. So he'd get even more annoyed and mad and angry. And it was a bad cycle. I should have known, however, that Cochran was the winner, because you're right. Like right away, we constantly hear Cochran's perspective on everything, and it's usually because it gets
more heavy-handed in the second half of the season, though.
Sure, but I guess I was just thinking is because he usually was funny about it or whatever. So it was
That's
just
usually
like
why,
and it usually is why. But yeah, he's consistent throughout the season.
I haven't checked the confessional stats, but he probably has more confessionals in South Pacific than he does here. I could be wrong, because he was eating up the screen his last season as well.
He was really funny.
Philip is the CEO of the tribe, Brandon's middle management, because Philip had to declare that. Philip, by the way, gets the winning shot for the immunity challenge. And Mary, my co-host, who is anti-Philip, audibly said yes and rooted for Philip. I don't know, but I wrote it down because I was surprised to hear you rooting for Philip, considering you're not a fan of Philip.
Maybe I was hoping there'd be less drama if they win. I don't remember this at all.
Philip gets the winning shot at this immunity challenge. Mary goes, yes.
Oh, you know why?
Why?
Because I was afraid Malcolm was going home.
Oh, that's true. Mary was sweating bullets.
I wanted Malcolm to last a lot longer. I mean, he lasted pretty good. But anyways,
yeah.
For some reason, I thought this episode Malcolm was going home, and I didn't want them to lose. So I wanted the fans to win.
Fans are so unimportant. We're going to breeze over them here. No, I'm with you here. Fans are unimportant. So let's breeze through this. Reynolds, Shamar fight back at camp. Shamar is shown to be lazy like all the time. I don't know if this is when he says it, but at some point he's like, you come feed me food while I lay in the shelter.
Yes.
To that, something like that.
Yes. And Sherry did it.
Sherry did it.
Yeah.
Because he was a guaranteed vote for her. Yeah. Randall finds an idol that will be important later.
Mm-hmm.
Allie's voted out. I don't even remember Allie. Episode 3. It is very clear at this point that because Allie's voted out, that Reynolds, Hope, and Eddie are at the bottom.
Yeah.
This is important because Reynolds and Eddie are going to be more important later. That's the only reason I support right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Shamar yells at people who voted against him, I believe. Or
no,
with
it was with him. Yeah, well, I remember this.
Oh
yeah, he was mad at the people who voted with him for some reason.
Because he didn't realize, I think, fully what happened. Again, I think Shamar was recruited. I don't know if I said that.
I think he understood the vote, but like maybe he felt like he was coerced into it or something. He's like, I don't remember what he yelled, but I remember thinking, dude, these people are on your side. Like, why are you, whatever. He was clearly, like you said, recruited, not understanding the game, how to play it or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Philip
Yes.
has a confessional, Mary, a whole story where he talks about how he's very athletic.
Mm-hmm.
Now, keep in mind, he did just win the challenge the day before, so he's probably feeling really good about himself.
Mm-hmm.
He says, I play basketball with guys who are half my age and twice my height. And I was like, holy crap, Philip should go pro.
Yeah.
I mean, twice his height? How tall is Philip? He seems like he's 6 feet tall.
I could look
Maybe
it up.
he's, I mean, at worst, he's 5'9". 6 feet. So he's playing with people, Mary. I mean, let's not take him literally here. People 7 feet tall. That's not twice his height. But, you know, that's like basketball height. 7 feet tall. He's playing with people basketball height who are half his age. Philip should go pro. Now, for those wondering, there's no follow-up, of course, this season because there's no basketball challenge. But in the Ponderosa videos, if you can find those, I did include them in my Survivor Caramoan Secrets video. I always include the good parts of every Ponderosa video in those. But Philip is horrendous at basketball. They make a montage of him missing so many shots because of how not good he actually is. And he was, by the way, playing against nobody. He was just playing by himself.
Well, that's the problem. He needs some really tall people out there.
Oh, the competition drives him to make his shots. All right. Malcolm finds an idol. Again, that'll be important later. Mm-hmm. Oh, the Reynolds and Malcolm idol finds, I believe, both lead us. No, Malcolm finds another idol later. Yeah, and that leads us to the infamous Philip vote off. So keep that in mind. Idols being found very early. Mind you, isn't it nice, Mary, for perspective from modern seasons? It's just we just found an idol.
Yes.
There's no stipulations.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to make a whole like we have the little idol hunt and that's it. We don't need to like spend 20 minutes on how it works. What else I need to do? Go on a boat to go to an island to find a key to unlock the bot. Like we don't have to do none of that stuff.
It's true.
You just get the idol and that's it. And that's the idol and it works. Brother. Okay. Shamar already wants to quit. Sherry has to talk him out of it. Hope is voted off from the fans. Okay. Again, the fans, we can just kind of skim through because it's so crazy. At one point, I'm sure I took a note of this too. At one point, they like Michael's talking to the screen or somebody else talking to the screen puts Michael's name on the screen. I don't know. Like the show didn't care about the fans.
It was a mistake.
And they never fixed it. It is on Paramount Plus, exactly the same as it aired.
It's true.
They never touched it at all. Yeah. So I love Eddie. Episode 4 starts. Hope, by the way, her and Allie, both cute blonde ladies. That's all I remember. And I think Eddie and Reynolds, Eddie had a thing for Hope, and I think Reynolds had a thing for Allie, maybe. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't explored that deeply, or vice versa. Reynolds had a thing for Hope, and Eddie had a thing for Allie. Honestly, unimportant to the grand scheme of things. Eddie says, Hope was voted out for being the prettiest one here. Yes, Eddie. That is why Hope was voted out. I love Eddie. Eddie was recruited, is completely unaware of how this game works. And the fact that he gets to 4th blows my mind in such a fun way. I love that Eddie was that close to making the dog bar a reality, Mary.
Oh, he was very far away from the dog bar.
Because many times this season, he'll be like, how come all the pretty girls I align with get voted off? He said that later. He's legit. He's not joking. He's like seriously thinking like, it's like a curse. If a pretty girl's aligned with him, she's gone.
Yep.
That was after Andrew, I believe, and Andrew gets voted off. He's like, all the pretty girls I like are voted off. Oh, Eddie. Philip compares himself to Napoleon. And we have gone from his father landed on the beach during World War II. He is a professional basketball player. He's the CEO of the tribe, Stealth Arrest 2.0, and now he's comparing himself to Napoleon Bonaparte. Oh my gosh, I hope I said the last name right. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And how he hands out names and titles instead of money. Amazing. I mean, Philip is... How can you not like Philip this season?
I just don't like Philip.
I understand Redemption Island, but this season, Philip makes it for me. Favorites win reward. Tata the Bushman comes out there, Mary. Favorites win reward. Tata the Bushman. It's little like 4.5 foot tall. You remember this guy?
Yeah, I do.
4.5 foot tall guy. He's coming out there. He's like almost you can't understand what he's saying, but he's like chopping stuff. He's like, here's how you cook rice. And they're like, yeah. He's doing so fast. He's speed running. And you know why he's speed running, Mary?
No.
He only has a limited amount of time there, and he has to get to the part why I noticed that he wasn't speed running, where he dances with the women. They all kiss him on his cheek.
True.
Cochran's like, Tata's married. That doesn't seem to bother him at all. Cochran's like, if I did this, I would be thrown in jail. But Tata was not rushing through the dancing with the girls, the getting kisses from the girls.
That's true.
Tata was definitely into Andrea, Corinne, and Brenda, if I recall. Because every time I make the story videos, I'm like, Tata, he's just like, if I did that, married to you, I was Tata.
Yes, I would be a little upset.
I mean, he didn't do anything like egregious,
a few slaps, probably.
he didn't do anything egregious. But Tata was definitely enjoying himself. Was not rushing through that for sure. Yes. Oh, here's where Shamar says in episode 4, I won't quit if you bring me rice once a day.
Yeah.
Do you think if he had stayed, he would have made it twice a day? Like the longer he stays, like the more rice they have to bring him? Because here he just says once a day.
I don't know.
And he's medically evacuated right after because he has a piece of sand gets in his pupil or his eye? I forget. Somewhere in his eye.
Somewhere in his eye. It was pretty bad.
It almost feels like, and you theorized, or maybe it wasn't you, maybe somebody else online. I get that mixed up in terms of like where I hear theories from. I mean, where he's like, did he quit? And he just like, did he self-inflict this? Because he was just talking about wanting to quit. I don't think so.
No, I think if you're going to quit, you just quit. And if you're going to fake an injury, like do what Colton did and fake like your stomach's hurting or something. Like don't actually put something in your eye.
Hold on. The Colton thing. I don't know if, here's the thing that's like so conflicting because Jeff, okay, so we have to talk about next season a little bit. Jeff next season will be like, Colton, you faked the injury and it's faked your appendicitis in season 24. But then later on, Jeff outside of the show says that, oh no, Colton legitimately had appendicitis. But do you think the show forced Jeff to like retract that statement?
Probably.
And that's why he said it not on the show.
I'm just talking about what Jeff said to Colton.
He didn't say that on 24. Jeff seemed ticked that Colton was leaving with an idol in his pocket. And maybe he was ticked that Colton was leaving. Okay. But Colton was medically evacuated.
Blah, 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 blah,
no, there's no blah, 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 blah.
If you're going to try to get yourself medically evacuated and you're not sick, then you should fake an appendicitis because that's one is really hard to tell and really easy to fake. There you go.
We'll talk about this more when we do blood versus water then. They potentially fake appendicitis because that will be very relevant. I am looking forward to blood versus water next time, by the way. We already did Cagayan for those wondering because the patrons picked that as a special bonus for the 5-year anniversary of this channel. So blood versus water, with a little season in between this one and that, and this one that we're talking about and Cagayan that we haven't talked about yet on the air. So some big war crimes happened that season. Well, specifically one war crime. We'll never forget the war crime, Mary. Mary's laughing about it. All right. Yes. Jeff says Shamar needs to go see a specialist. Mary says Philip out loud behind. Hey, we're sitting together. Jeff says Shamar needs to go see a specialist about his injury, and Mary says Philip. All right. Fans lose immunity due to Sherry. Reynolds plays his idol, wastes his idol. Okay, so Reynolds' idol is not going to be. That's not for later. I think it's that Malcolm has 2 idols. That's what it was.
Or Reynolds gets one later.
We'll talk about it. Yeah. There's idol plays at least. Reynolds plays his idol, doesn't do anything. Laura voted off again. Laura, as Eddie said, probably voted off for being too pretty. I don't think he said that about Laura, but we've had Allie, Hope, and Laura voted off. I'm with Eddie. I think there's a bias against pretty girls. All right. Episode 5. This is the Brandon blow up episode. So
we can just skip this.
No,
everybody knows. If you have seen this episode, it's burned in your brain.
We have talked about earlier. We talked about Brandon, so we're not going to hammer on it too much. But definitely a lot going on here. Brandon, the episode begins and he feels selfish. This is at nighttime. Feels selfish for coming out here and playing when he has a wife and 2 kids at home. He's not thinking about the fact that this is basically bringing home money to his wife and kids. Because as long as you play and go to the reunion, you get 10 grand. You get minimum 10 grand. I think if you vote off first, and it's like 3 grand or something like that. I'm spitballing numbers. I know 10 grand for the reunion for fact. So it's like 13 grand for 3 days of gameplay. From there, you get more money.
Right.
Up until obviously the winner. So, I mean, for being gone a month and a half, 13 grand is pretty dang good.
Well, and also it just doesn't make sense because he asked everyone to vote him off. But if he gets voted off, he doesn't get to go home to see his wife and kids. He's still stuck at Ponderosa.
You go on the pre-jury trip
until the end of it.
This is not the time,
or
like
whatever.
In the modern era of Survivor, the new era, the budget era, the pre-jury does go home now. They don't send them on a trip. I don't think they can afford it.
Yeah.
Personally. But they did back here in 2012. They were still sending them on pre-jury trips where they send them to another country and they just sit there and wait until the show's done. And then they send them home.
Yeah.
So there's no leaked boot lists or no like, oh, this person's definitely, didn't win because they got home already. So anyways, so he says, please vote me off. The next morning, Brandon's like, I'm so sorry, guys. I want to be here. I was going to pee in the beans and rice. And Corinne's like, well, what is this crazy person doing here? What? He said thank you for not peeing in the beans and rice. Like, yeah, I mean, golly. So they win reward. Oh, this is what happens. Matt's talking and it says Michael on screen. Feel bad for Matt. Matt did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Why does he get the wrong name on screen? Randall finds another idol. There it is. That's the idol for later, I'm pretty sure. Or for whatever. We'll talk. I forget all the idol plays. As I said, it's been a little while since you've seen the season. Brandon dumps the rice and beans. Eric's like, no. By the way, Eric and Brandon have the most scenes together where Brandon indicates he's going to do something. It's with Eric. But also Eric's like kind of like a low-key goof.
Yeah.
They're like, Eric's also, it's not Eric's job to like mediate Brandon, like not breaking the rules. But there's a secret scene where they're out in the water and Brandon's like, if one of us gets voted off, if we're going to feel like we're going to be voted off tonight, Eric, let's burn down the camp and dump the beans and rice. Like he says this. And Eric's like, but like Eric's like not taking it that seriously.
Yeah.
Because he thinks Brandon's just venting. He does not think Brandon's legit. So when Brandon actually dumps the beans and rice, I'm like, Eric is the only one here who probably should have saw this coming. But again, he just said he was going to pee in that.
No, everyone should have seen this coming. Yes.
Yeah. He's like the music here and everything, editing. So Mary, so we go to the challenge. Brandon gets pulled to the side by Jeff, gives him a shoulder rub, calms Brandon down somewhat. It is theorized. I don't know if there's any confirmation on this. Tell me what you think. That Brandon was going to be kicked off the show after the beans and rice blowing up and everything. And instead of kicking him off the show, they made an unofficial vote at the challenge instead. The show was going to kick him off. They're like, no, let's just vote him off at the challenge so it looks like a vote off.
Right.
Do you think that's legit? Because remember, they don't kick off anyone, and this is not really a spoiler. The show doesn't ever kick off anyone until season 39, and like that, they had to be pushed to the extremes to make that happen, basically. So they don't want Brandon to be the first one kicked off, apparently. Theoretically. Do you believe this? Does that sound real?
I could see that being reality, yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense, because I think people were genuinely concerned about his mental health at this point. They should have been genuinely concerned about his mental health.
Concerned about their own well-being, too.
And the well-being of the other tribe people. So I think that's what they should have done, was pull him from the game.
Would you feel okay going to sleep at night after Brandon had that blow up?
No,
right.
Absolutely
like
not.
being near Brandon sleeping?
Yeah. So that's why like Dawn and Brenda are crying there, because like there's so much emotions and tension. It's just overwhelming.
You were crying and you were at
I was
house.
crying, and it was how many ever years later watching on TV.
Yeah, you're watching it at a TV show. You weren't even on the island.
Yeah. So that makes sense to me. I could totally see that.
And Philip's still egging Brandon on as
they
like fight at the challenge.
Yes.
And Brandon's like, Philip, you're a joke. I mean, Brandon is speaking some truth here. Philip, you're a joke. No one respects you. He's telling the truth. It's just mixed in with all of his anger and everything. So Brandon's voted off, potentially kicked off, obviously never going to be brought back. That's the end of Brandon. Okay, so I think it's very interesting, and I talk about more in the story videos when it's relevant, so we won't hammer on too much about it here. Tribe swap time. Also with the tribe swap, I do believe Jeff said that, hey, by the way, guys, you're getting beans and rice. So it really replenished the supply that Brandon dumped. It's not like dumped and that's it.
Yeah.
Also, Reynolds did ask Jeff once they forfeited, the other tribe forfeited the challenge, if he's like, hey, could you throw up your arms and say we won? Jeff's like, later. But he doesn't do it.
No, he never does.
Why did they leave it in the show? He'd say it later.
I don't know.
Don't leave that in the show.
To prove that you can't make Jeff do anything, I guess. I don't know.
But Jeff said he'll do it later.
I don't know.
I mean, the fans never win a challenge later because they have a tribe swap. So anyways, Corinne said if she, oh my gosh. All right. So Corinne gets on a new tribe with Michael, who is gay. Corinne says if she wasn't a moron, so if she was smart, she would turn around her whole alliance because Michael is gay to help be with Michael, to work with Michael. She loves gay people that much. It's like weirdly progressive and yet opposite of progressive politically at the same time. Does that make sense? It's like very pro-gay, but at the same time, it's like kind of like demeaning. Is that the right word?
Yeah, kind of.
Just because he's gay, that's the only reason?
Yeah.
What about him as a person? No, he's gay. Therefore, I'm going to if I could, I'd blow him off my whole lines for him. Anyways, Philip tries to flip Julia, and his tribe does not like this because they're like, we already have the numbers, Philip. We're going to kind of breeze through. Gotta wins immunity easily. Julia was going until Cochran says we need to break up the duo of Matt and Michael. So Julia doesn't get voted off. Mac is voted off. Mac is tribe swapped. Tribe screwed because he's worried about come emerge. Matt would be a bigger threat.
Right. So here's a little note we have from Cochran right after this tribe swap stuff. Philip thinks he's in control. He thinks he's running the show. Oh. But it's truly Cochran who's the one making the decisions. He just made Philip feel good about it because he gets to keep Julia. And so, I don't know. This was another little thing I should have seen that Cochran is smart, and he played everyone really well. Whatever Cochran wanted as far as vote, it happened. And sometimes it aligned with what Philip wanted, and sometimes it didn't.
See, I'm glad you brought that up. I have at the time of recording this podcast not made Cochran's story video yet. So I haven't been able to deep dive in his game. So maybe when I go back and I do this part of his story video, I'll have to look at that closer and be like, really, was Cochran just placating or whatever you said, make you feel good, pacifying Philip, make it feel good, when in reality it was Cochran's call.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next episode is Philip versus Corinne, which is a good setup leading into the merge because that will come to a head later. Philip says, without being arrogant, oh my gosh. So first off, Philip's against Corinne. He doesn't feel like he can trust Corinne. Nothing really indicates why, by the way, in my opinion. I mean, maybe you could say because Corinne said she's willing to throw away her whole lines for Michael because he's gay. But that's like, I don't think she said that to Philip. No. Anyways, Philip says, without being arrogant, he is stronger than any man.
Any man, yes.
No arrogance. No arrogance. So we then go to this challenge, which, by the way, has not happened since season 26. They need to bring this one back. I don't know why it hasn't. It's a classic. Mm-hmm. This is such an easy one to set up too. What's the, like in the budget area, you think this one would have been a guarantee to bring back. All they have to do is run around the track and catch the other tribe. Or run around the little thing. This one's in the water, which sometimes they don't do in the water. Sometimes they do. I believe it's always in the water maybe. This one, I think they come out of the water and go back in. I don't know. Either way, this is such a simple challenge.
Yeah.
Every time they do it, it's like, there's something interesting about it. Philip flippin' tells his tribe multiple times, like, no, we can't run. The women will tire. No, we can't run. Let's take it easy. Really, it's just Philip doesn't have the stamina because he's like 50 something years old.
Mm-hmm. And he put himself in the lead. He told everyone where to stand.
Yeah.
And it clearly just wasn't worked out well. And then when other people are trying to run and move faster, he's like, nope. And since
the women will tire.
Since he's in the front, nobody can go any faster than he's going.
Is basically that misogynistic to like say the women will tire?
Yes.
Okay. Because that's what's coming out of Philip's mouth there. The women will tire. And it's like they lose, and it's so obvious from the beginning they're going to lose because Philip won't run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he's stronger than any man. He just doesn't have the stamina of any man, I guess the better way of looking at it. Cochran says no. Okay, so Julia. Do you even know who Julia is? Outside of
I
this
do remember who Julia is.
Outside of this comment by Cochran, I almost forget her. Because Cochran says no one's clamoring for Julia flavored anything. She's like vanilla.
Yeah, I remember that.
But he said people like vanilla. And Cochran later off the show apologized for this. I don't think anyone was forcing him to do that. I think he just feels like it was just a mean comment.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, he's not wrong. Like Julia was kind of nobody on the show. And it is true. I'd rather have vanilla flavored ice cream than Julia. I think those are all accurate statements.
I think she was overshadowed by a lot of other characters, obviously. But I think to Cochran's point, they already had a strong alliance. There was no need to pull in Julia. And the reason Philip was pushing so hard for it was, I think, just strange or
this
wrong
one
or whatever.
Was placating Philip. This move was placating Philip because otherwise they really should vote off Michael. Because like Julia holds no threat, it seems like. So why vote off her over Michael, who is close to Corinne? I think at this point, it's people have realized Corinne and Michael are a bit close. Well,
this isn't placating Philip because Philip was the only one trying to keep Julia.
I thought Philip was trying to get out Julia. Did he not?
No, he was wanting to work with her this whole time.
Oh, he was wanting to flip her.
Yes,
he was got out Julia to weaken Philip.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't. Again, these are a couple of votes where it's like, okay, it happened.
Yeah. And some of them they
Brandon pre-merge, but pre-merge is like, to me, is like,
some of them they don't explain. I remember thinking some of the times that Tribal's like, okay, so why was Julia voted out? Like, sure, we had Cochran saying no one really cares about her, but we don't really hear from anyone else about why. I remember a couple of votes being like that. Is like, especially at this time period, it didn't really matter. So we're just going to go to the vote and then they get voted and that's it.
Episode 6 and 7 are the weakest episodes of the whole season to me. And it's post Brandon, pre the merge. I think the merge and beyond is fairly strong for the most part. These are a couple weak episodes. Though Philip does lose them immunity and tells Cochran, hey, I threw that challenge on purpose. Cochran's like, oh, of course. Phil's playing 4D chess. Why didn't I think of that?
And that was immunity. It wasn't the running around of reward.
This is the immunity.
Yes.
Where he was like throwing.
But he's
I think it's the one where he's like throwing hooks.
Yes.
Or whatever.
Yeah, he's still insane.
I mean, again, I'm just top of my head trying to remember this challenge. I'm like, what's Philip? I mean, he was sure. He's correct. Philip was throwing the challenge, but I don't know if he was throwing the challenge, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he knew a fan had to go, though.
Oh, fan had to go.
Yeah.
All right, important. Let's move on to the merge. Anil Adam is the tribe name, which backwards Mary is?
Madeline.
That's right. It's Malcolm's mother's name. not as funny as when Boston Rob named the tribe after a stuffed animal Amber liked in Redemption Island, but we don't get stuff like, we don't even see what the tribes are named, why they're named anymore in the newer seasons, which is a shame because one of the more recent seasons, they named it after milk, and that was for good reason. And then, but on the show, they doesn't explain that. Just left it in secret scene. It's like, this should have been left in the show. Like, anyways, back then when they had limited time, they still left it in the show. Now they have so much time, they don't. All right. Philip tells Andrea to lay in bed and pretends to be Boston Rob. That's what he does. I wrote that. What does that mean? That's my note. But like, what does that even mean?
I think that he's trying to be bossy. Oh, and he's acting like Boston Rob. He's like doing the accent and stuff to Andrea.
Oh,
and she's just laughing.
Literally
about
pretending
it.
to be Boston Rob. Okay,
pretty sure that's what that scene
was.
Gosh,
I wrote it down, but I forgot why I wrote that. So the immunity challenge is eating gross food. Cochran goes on to win this and beats Malcolm. But more importantly to me is that Eddie is worried that the eating gross food challenge will hurt his chances with the ladies.
Yes.
The ladies might view Eddie as lesser than because he's eating gross food, Mary. Does that not... This should have been the winner of the season.
A turnoff to see somebody eating gross food, but at the same time... That's so much.
If Eddie won this season, this would have been a Fabio-esque win. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, that would have been amazing. Cochran ends up winning it, does like punching the air, and it's like Cochran won an immunity challenge, but it was like eating gross food. Like, Cochran's not a challenge beast.
Right.
Not yet.
Right.
Not yet. All right, Philip wants to flush the idol out. Who has the idol that Philip thinks? Who does Philip think has the idol at this point?
I think everybody knew about the fans' idol.
Was this the Reynolds idol? Idol because he was telling everybody.
Yeah, he was telling everybody.
Anyways, they don't because Corinne gets voted off. So Corinne, believe it or not, blows this here for herself. Corinne says too much to Philip and gets herself voted off because they were going to vote off a fan. Corinne talks her way out of it, gets voted out of the game. Doesn't even make the jury because she's not on the jury.
Yep.
Craziness. More details on that one. Watch Corinne's story video. Or watch, I believe, I'm trying to think if it was I think Malcolm's story video is the other one. One of those two, and you'll get, or you can just watch the episode itself, of course. But Corinne talks her way out of being saved in the game. She would have been okay had she kept her mouth shut.
Yeah.
She talked her way out of the game. We move on to episode 9, Mary. Philip tells Sherry, just out of the blue, you're hot. Sherry's married.
Yes.
But she took it in stride. Like, she didn't like lean into it. She just kind of took the compliment and moved on. But they left it in the show.
It's true.
Is two things. One, did they leave that in to make Philip look a certain way, or did they leave it in because the show also thought she was hot? Or both?
Both.
Just sometimes you wonder, like, we only have a limited amount of time, but yet we leave certain little things in. Like, why was this left in? That doesn't affect anything of it. And Philip didn't even vote for Sherry at the end. So it's not like Sherry got one vote and it's from Philip. It's like, well, Philip thought she was hot. So that's not it. Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Just one of those things I wrote down. I'm like, I don't remember this, but it happened. It's in the show. I don't know why. Malcolm talks to Dawn about making a move, and she says, oh, Malcolm's dangerous. Because keep in mind, I think we should have mentioned this. Nobody, not the fans, not the favorites, seen Malcolm's first season. They actually don't know how he plays. And the fact that, I mean, he may have told them he got far, but I doubt they like understood the true depths of how good of a player Malcolm is.
Right.
But Malcolm quickly, after Corinne goes out, is on the bottom and basically is now in an alliance with Eddie and Reynolds. They called themselves the Three Stooges.
Yeah. This makes sense because, like, as you said, nobody had seen Malcolm's season yet. He was really good in challenges already. And so that's put a target on him. And he's pretty likable and chill.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was clear that the other favorites were like, well, he's, we don't even know him. He quickly moved to the bottom of the pack with the other fans. And it makes sense, but it is sad to watch because I think Malcolm is a good player. And I was sad that he didn't make more connections because he did what he was trying to do. Like, he got with Dawn, who's a good alliance member to have.
She's just more connected to Cochran.
Yeah, if she wasn't already loyal. Like, she's loyal, she's smart to an extent. And so, yeah, he was doing what he needed to do, but unfortunately didn't work. So.
Yes. And
I mean, he doesn't go out this episode, but this is like the start of his downfall, I think.
Speaking of going out, Eddie and Andrea seem to have a little romantic tension. Now, Eddie and Hope had romantic tension earlier in the season. And as Eddie said, oh man, they're voting off all the pretty girls.
Yes.
Little did Eddie know that he would be the fulcrum's not the right word.
Catalyst?
The catalyst for if you're a pretty girl, you're going out of here. That's not why Andrea gets voted off. I just love that Eddie is so simple in his Survivor thinking that he really thinks that is a factor. Anyways, him and her are kind of talking normal strategy, but the music indicates it's something more.
Yeah, but then later on, and I don't remember if it's this episode or just later in the season, they clearly have a confessional of Andrea being like, yeah, I'm kind of flirting with Eddie, but it's just strategy or whatever. And then Eddie saying,
Eddie's legit.
Man, Andrea's so cute and sweet. And I don't know if she's playing me or not, but I really like talking to her. And it's just sad because she's definitely playing him.
Oh, and my estimation, I don't know if that's the right word for this, but my understanding, if you watch the Ponderosa videos again, is that Andrea, I think, is naturally flirtatious.
Mm-hmm.
And not in the same sense as Parvati, where Parvati like evilly laughs as she's flirting, to us at least. Andrea does it without the evil laughing. She's just flirtatious naturally, and she's pretty, and therefore takes advantage of that. Not to the same extent as Parvati, but takes advantage of that. And definitely this season, I think out of her 3 seasons is the time it most comes up. I don't remember in Game Changers how much it comes up.
Yeah,
she does come back for Game Changers, but here definitely. She does that, but on Ponderosa, everyone's like, wow, Andrea's so cool. And like you can tell Malcolm has a thing for Andrea on Ponderosa. Let's put it that way. Gotcha. Let's put that. And maybe someone else, but definitely Malcolm has a thing for Andrea on Ponderosa. But yeah, it's like, Eddie definitely is just like cute girl, Survivor, me on Survivor, cute girl, me with cute girl. And Andrea's like thinking beyond that.
So Eddie's a caveman is what you're saying.
To some extent. I mean, it's charming and endearing.
Yeah.
You know, like, again, Fabio was smarter than Eddie. Eddie. I know earlier I said Eddie winning would be like Fabio winning. It kind of is, but like Fabio, Mary, preseason was like, I'm going to play up being dumb so people overlook me.
Yes.
It will be part of my strategy. Like he says, like he knows that he is a little dumb, but like Fabio's like, I'm going to play it up.
Right.
To like, Eddie, I don't think ever says anything to that. I'm going to pretend to only be him to pretty girls.
No.
For strat, like, no. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, Fabio played it up. Fabio was not complete, idiot. He was just a little idiot. Also, Fabio, this is okay to say. Fabio's non-Survivor 50. Everyone knows this at this point. Fabio confirmed via a South Park meme on Facebook that he didn't get called for 50. And it was just like, so very Fabio.
That's pretty funny.
Yes. He's like, I wasn't even called, man. Fabio, why hasn't he not been brought back, Mary? Okay, so Andrea and Eddie are maybe island dating. Romantic music when they talk normal strategy. Brenda wins immunity. Keep that in mind. Brenda wins 1 immunity. But this is important 2 other times, weirdly enough. Malcolm wants to trick the favorites into splitting the votes. That doesn't work, by the way.
Nope.
Reynolds shows Dawn his idol because everyone knows Reynolds has an idol. He's just showing it to try to get things to happen, but the favorites are too... And this is at this point, they're following Philip.
Yeah.
Or they're just, I mean, it's not that Philip maybe is leading them, but they're just kind of like, yeah, what Philip wants works, so we'll do it. More or less. That's why there's so much frustration built up. Eddie tells Andrea her name has come up and she gets scared. Reynolds plays his idol for Malcolm. Reynolds goes to play his idol. Malcolm's like, hey, play that for me. And Reynolds does it. I mean, it didn't make it like a difference.
It didn't matter.
Because he wasn't going to play for Michael, who gets voted off. But it's just like, that's the control Malcolm has over the 3 Stooges. I almost feel like it would be mean to make Reynolds play it for you if what Malcolm does in the very next episode doesn't happen. So it's like, it's definitely a trust thing.
Yes.
It's not a mean thing.
Yeah.
Whereas he's not like taking advantage of Reynolds. Yeah. Well, Michael's voted off. Corinne and Michael not on the same Ponderosa because Corinne went on the pre-jury trip. So unfortunately she can't get rid of everybody on Ponderosa for Michael because he's gay. I mean, anyways, episode 10. This is the one Mary probably liked the most. This is the one I knew you would like the most.
Oh, sure. It was a good episode. Yep.
Cochran tells Philip that Dawn will be easy to beat.
True.
It's true. That's what I'm saying. Cochran's already calling it. Like he knew Dawn's guaranteed vote. Also, Dawn, like we haven't really talked about it. Super emotional, but the further the season gets, the more she openly does it. I feel like the more people notice it, more it's talked about.
Yeah.
Again, limited time on these episodes. Yeah. Dawn, same person as before, though it's not talked about in the season. I want to throw this out there that in between last time and this time, Dawn confirmed off the air. That's not the right way of putting it. She confirmed not on the show that she was robbed and someone punched her teeth out. And that's why she loses her teeth. So she had to get false teeth in between last season and this season because she got robbed in between. That's awful. It's like, I can imagine that. And remember, this is 1 year later. That's a little traumatizing.
Right.
A little traumatizing.
I didn't realize it was that recent. Yeah.
So when she loses her teeth in the lake and says, I'm going to quit this game, I'm serious, and Brenda retrieves it, like, I don't know. I'm with Brenda actually at the end of the day. I think Brenda was in the right. It's like, why did Dawn never should have flipped on Brenda.
No.
She really did hold
She shouldn't have flipped on
hands.
Brenda. It's unfortunate. Like, I do like how loyal Dawn is. And could she have done anything to save Brenda in the end when all the rest of her alliance wanted Brenda out?
She could have voted with Brenda.
But she could have voted. She could have done like a solidarity kind of thing
Right.
and explained that to her alliance.
Other people are going to vote you off, but I'm not going to vote you off.
That could have ruined her game.
Ruin what game? She finishes with 0 votes in the final tribal.
No, but she makes it
Brenda
to the
goes
end.
out at what, 6? And then Eric goes on. Eric didn't have a choice in Eric. And then Eddie goes. Eddie was not going final tribal.
Yeah. She could have done, yes, you're right. She could have voted with Brenda. I still think that could have just completely tanked her game. She wouldn't have made it to the final 3. But
I think Cochran stays with her.
I do think Cochran stays with her. So hindsight's always 20/20.
Correct. Hindsight is 20/20. And you're right. Like, she didn't know Eric was going to be pulled for medical evacuation.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody did.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fair. But at the same time, bro, Brenda held her game in her hands here. So I don't feel too bad later on when Dawn has to take her teeth out. I get it's supposed to be viewed as this massively villainous moment by Brenda, but at the same time, I'm like, feels fair, actually.
No, I
really
definitely feel like it does feel fair. I know that Brenda was upset and she kind of needed that validation. And I hope they were friends afterwards. I don't know.
No
Probably
idea.
not.
They're not even at the reunion. The whole, by the way, we got to mention that. The reunion, because I don't usually talk about the reunion. Reunion does not have anyone from the pre-merge on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And Mary, do you want to know what the Survivor's official explanation was for this?
I had no idea.
The stage just couldn't hold everybody.
It's held everyone in the past.
Mary, this is the season where it couldn't hold everybody, okay?
It wasn't because they didn't want Brandon back.
That's what it was. We all know that's what it was, obviously. They didn't want, because the pre-merge people were out in the crowd, and it's like, are we really going to pretend that we couldn't put enough seats up on this massive stage for 18 people, 17 people, whatever? Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of here. Oh, the stage just wasn't big enough. Can't fit everybody up here. That's so dumb. Anyways, Brenda's one of the people who aren't there that they didn't have to get a seat for. Oh, thank goodness, because she was carrying a baby. That would have been 2. That would have been 1 too many for the stage. Stage would have collapsed with Brenda being pregnant, all 105 pounds of her. Goodness gracious. All right. So yeah, Brenda retrieves it, gives to her. Dawn
teeth.
says her teeth.
It's been a while.
Yes, Dawn. Sorry, her teeth. Dawn says she has slept 2 to 4 hours in the past 3 days, and like this is really her like the episode where they really focus on it. But she's like mentally breaking down. Everyone notices. Mm-hmm. On top of Cochran saying he can easily beat Dawn. This is the episode that really lays out Dawn's not going to win. Gives you a few episode heads up on that.
Right.
Ain't happening, Chief. Dawn ain't winning. In case you thought it was going to happen. Stealth or Us wants Reynolds out. So Philip sits out of the immunity challenge due to past trauma. This is the difference between season 26 and modern Survivor. Mm-hmm. Season 26 kind of played off like Philip's being a bit silly. Modern Survivor, no, this would have been legit. There would have been a whole, Jeff would have had questions.
Backstories and pictures.
Correction, backstories, pictures. There would have been the whole 9 yards. Philip would have gotten like a legit, there was some not, it's like kind of played off like Philip's being, I don't know, goofy's the word, but just like dumb.
To be fair, it is Philip.
Right. And that's why. But I'm saying like Philip sitting out due to past trauma from being thrown in a lake or something like that.
He almost drowned in a lake at some point when he was a kid.
Underneath the bridge, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have all the details in front of me.
Because it was so quickly glossed over, basically.
Right. And that's why he sat out of the challenge. The only person to ever, I think, sit out of a challenge willingly, not because of like an offer or something. Mm-hmm. Not because like, hey, we need to sit out somebody. So Philip sits out. It's kind of like a little bit made fun of, but yeah, in Modern Survivor, this would have been a whole backstory. This would have been explored. Jeff would have asked questions. They would have talked about tribal. They'd have been touching music, and it would have been played up in the advertisements like a touching moment on Survivor this week.
Yep.
Not so in season 26, season 46. Yeah, season 26 now. But this is the big one, Mary. This is the big one. Reynolds wins immunity. Malcolm then finds an idol right in front of Andrea and Dawn, and they're like, oh shoot, we wanted Malcolm out, so now we gotta vote off Eddie. Nobody really cares about Eddie, but he just is not one of them. So we go to tribal. Malcolm drops the bomb that, hey, all of the 3 Stooges tonight are safe. all three of us, 2 idols plus the immunity necklace, and we're voting for Philip. What do you think about this move in terms of telling everybody what they're going to do?
Well, I think it's smart in the sense of they're trying to get people on their side. They're trying to let people know, hey, we're here to play. We have idols. Join our side for this vote. Nobody likes Philip. Everyone would probably be fine if he was voted out anyways. So, of course, people are going to think they're bluffing. But, like, bluffing or not, I think this is, like, one of the one times it's okay to say at Tribal what you're going to do because they are going to play their idols and nothing's going to change it. So you might as well tell people what you're doing and try to gain some trust. They're trying to gain trust, trying to get people to work with them. What else do they have to lose? Like, would it be any better if they didn't say anything and then just voted? I don't think so.
So I actually believe the opposite. I do believe that it would have been better had they said nothing, not saying nothing. Like, tell everyone they're playing their 2 idols. I think that's the correct move.
Mm-hmm.
We're all safe. That's the move for sure, no doubt. Reason being is because now all 3 of them are safe. Now, of course, they hadn't seen Malcolm last season. Malcolm bluffs when it comes to I'm gonna play an idol myself. Like he said that openly in Philippines 1 or 2 times, and he didn't do it.
Right.
So just get people to think that he was safe, but they don't know that. They hadn't seen it. So as far as they know, Malcolm's telling the truth, and he was. I think they screwed up telling everyone they're voting Philip. Like, sure, Eric flipped and voted with them, but I think the rest of them are like, well, we'll risk it because it's not us.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just vote the way I was going to vote, and if Philip goes, that's fine. But had they not told everyone we're voting Philip, everyone might have crapped their pants, and there might have been a lot of scrambling, a lot of scared voting, and it would have revealed and broke a lot more of that alliance than they did by saying we're voting Philip.
Sure.
Personal, of course, again, hindsight 2020. I'm not in the moment sitting with 3 idols or whatever, feeling really giddy about the fact that I'm about to save my entire group. I don't have that emotional attachment. I'm just from, Monday morning quarterbacking. It's like, I think it would have been a lot more effective had they just not said they're voting Philip and left it open-ended as to who they're going to vote off.
Right. And you guys have to guess. Yeah, I guess
No, not even guess. I think you make them vote for each other. You can't, if they still vote for them, then I don't know. Like, would you want to risk your game on like, well, are they going to vote me off? Who are they voting for? We're not going to tell you.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Well, shoot, tell me who you're going to vote for. I'll vote with you. I don't know.
That's what I meant when you have to guess. Like,
yeah.
Make the strong alliance guess.
Andrea started crying. She thought it was going to be her until they said it was Philip. Then all of a sudden she wasn't worried.
Right.
Right.
Either way, they were taking a gamble and taking a risk. Nobody did eventually stick with them through the long haul, obviously.
Makes it a very exciting episode.
But yeah, it was an interesting episode, interesting tribal. I mean, is there ever been a tribal where 3 people have immunity idol and one of them was definitely going to go
2
home,
idols and the necklace.
You know what I mean. 3 people are safe.
Parvati's double idol play in Heroes vs. Villains where she saved Sandra and Jerry and Danielle already had the necklace. Say she took a risk there though. Parvati kept herself open. But it's not often.
I'm just saying.
It's very rare.
It's very rare. There are 3
rare.
people safe at tribal and it's the bottom 3 people. Yep. So yeah, it's definitely overall just a really great episode. Right. And of course the cherry on the icing, whatever, Philip gets voted off.
The cherry on the icing. The cherry on top, you mean?
The cherry on top, the icing on the cake, whatever. Philip got voted off.
Unfortunately, Philip gets voted off because I think this is where the season gets a little, it's not bad.
I thought you said 10 episodes of Philip was almost too much.
I think it's perfect amount of Philip. I just think that the season loses a little momentum with Philip going. Philip's like, you can vote me off for strategy, but don't malign my character. And it's like, okay, Philip. All right, so we go to the next episode. Malcolm says, and it's the auction is coming up. Malcolm's like, all 500 of my dollars I'm spending on an advantage, idol, hunt, clue, whatever.
Right.
Very first thing, beer and peanuts. Malcolm throws out $20.
It's $20 and he's hungry.
Mary.
But no, I get it. Yeah, in his situation, he should have held on to his money for the advantage. But
he's lucky that he won the idol, and he still bought the idol clue for $4.80. But it was a risky.
It was risky
buying beer and nuts for $20. Yeah, he still gets the idol clue. It doesn't end up making a difference because I don't think he can remember all the details of the idol clue. Is my guess based on he doesn't find the idol, but the same exact idol clue is given out, I believe, in the very next episode where Andrea finds it. Or sorry, Eric finds the idol, hands it to Andrea. That's the next episode. So she gets the same clue. Eric finds it. So I don't think Malcolm only be able to read it for 60 seconds at the challenge actually made it like, sure, he had a hint, but at the same time, he was probably like really like, he wasn't able to calm down at the auction.
Yeah.
Pressure, all these cameras on him, people watching, everyone just standing still for a minute, being quiet while Malcolm reads a note.
Well, and also it's like not really fair because number one, everyone knows he has the information. So therefore there's a big target on him. But then he doesn't even get to keep the information so that he can work it out. So
I think he should have been able to take this back.
I do too.
I understand that's probably just the way they were like, I mean, I don't think they ever do this again where it's like you just read it at the auction and you don't get to take it back. This is the one and only time that I know of.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out.
It didn't
And
work.
I think that's why they don't do it again. Of course, the auction's soon to be bye-bye. That's not spoiled. Yeah, it is like a little bit. Whatever. The auction, I mean, it comes back eventually. Auction takes a break. Let's put it that way. We were on a break. That's the auction. So Cochran buys a challenge advantage, and that ends up being what Malcolm really needed. This is the challenge advantage where they go to the immune challenge. Cochran gets to move his hand up 2 knots.
Yes.
And that makes a difference because everyone else's hand has no knot at the bottom.
True.
And that's why Cochran wins. Not because Cochran's stronger than everybody, because he had a leverage advantage over everybody. Malcolm, had he bought that with his money and not the idle clue, would have been safe.
It's true.
Wouldn't have saved Eddie or Reynolds.
Ready.
Like they're a couple. Ready and old. All right. Yeah, the auction's kind of the most important thing in this episode. Just a bunch of things happen. Reynolds buys 1 slice. Cochran's like, you should switch. Reynolds like, screw you, Cochran. Turns out Cochran was right. Sherry buys the rest of the pizza with her money for $500, and Jeff's like, what? Oh, okay, all right. Wasn't like planned. Though I bet you it was going to be the next item to be sold. Maybe it wasn't going to be the next item sold, but she like took advantage. It should have been.
I feel like they don't just waste food.
Why would they waste 7/8 of a pizza?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure they would.
Maybe
at the end of the day, but yeah. All right, so Malcolm looks for the idol. Andrea won't leave his side. He doesn't find it. There's a secret scene too where Brenda is with Andrea, like all over him, and Brenda susses out that Malcolm doesn't have the idol. But notice how that's not left in the show.
No, because
even though Brenda sussed it out,
they want the drama of does Malcolm have the idol?
Yeah, Brenda susses out that Malcolm doesn't have the idol. That's the real thing to know going into tribal. It's not that Brenda figured it out. Andrew's like, oh, Brenda's right, basically. So yes, it does cut down the drama when you go to tribal and you're like, did Malcolm find it? Did Malcolm find it? No, he didn't.
Right.
Malcolm gets voted off. Eddie and Reynolds flying like a duo, but not for very long. We get up to 12. Reynolds says out loud that he easily could win 5 in a row. Reynolds, I remember liking him more the first time I watched the season. This time around, I was like, yeah,
he's kind of a jerk.
I don't really like
Eddie's
Reynolds
funny.
much as I like. Eddie's funny.
Yeah, but Reynolds had an attitude for sure.
Sherry says it best in the pre-merge after the tribe swap. She's like, I like Eddie when he's not with Reynolds. That's what she's like, Eddie's great when he's not with Reynolds. He's worse with Reynolds.
Yeah.
And I get that. Reynolds has like this cockiness, arrogance about him. He's like, I could win 5 immunities in a row. It's like, Reynolds hasn't even won 1 in a row.
It's true.
Yeah. Who's won so far? We have Brenda won 1. Oh no, sorry. Reynolds did win 1 in episode 10 because that's when they did the infamous.
Oh yeah, the 3.
Yeah. So he has won 1. Okay. So I can't knock him too hard. Cochran won 1 because of his challenge advantage. He won 1. Another immunity because he ate food, gross food that Eddie was too scared that might ruin his chances with women. And Brenda won 1. All right. So Reynolds says out loud he can win 5 in a row. They go to the challenge where they have to stand up on that. This was one they do in future seasons as well. They just have to stand on the platform in the water and like whoever stands the longest on it wins. Eddie and Eric jump for donuts. Eddie, first chance he gets, jumps for donuts. Eric, I get. Eric's game plan seasons to do nothing. Nothing. And jumping for donuts is the equivalent of doing nothing. Eddie jumps for donuts. Eddie's life is on the line. He jumps for like 2 donuts that he gets.
I know. We've discussed Eddie's strategy.
It gets down to Brenda and Andrea. And Andrea's like, oh, Brenda, could you jump and let me have it? Because Brenda, keep in mind, this is why I said it affects 2 more immunities. Has one immunity. And Andrea feels like she's owed an immunity and Brenda should hand it to her. Brenda instead's like, no, why don't we just compete for it? Yeah. So instead they agree to like lift one leg to see who wins. And Jeff's like, this is not a requirement. The show has not put this on them. They're doing this of their own free will, basically. Like we're not liable for stupidity or possibly falling over. I don't know what he's thinking. Anyways, he's like clarifying it's not us. Andrea wins anyways. She then goes back to her alliance and tells him about the idol clue she won. Eric finds the idol, hands to Andrea. The show tries to play it up like this is equally as dumb as giving me to Natalie. It's not.
No.
Eric got tricked on giving it to
Mhm.
Natalie. Here, Eric was like, I don't want any target on me ever. And whether that works or not is up to you. But it definitely like makes Eric look like a bigger non-threat. And in fact, I think this idol is the reason Andrea goes so soon too.
Probably.
Andrea has an idol in her pocket and everybody knows it. That's scary. This deep in the game.
Well, yeah, when you have your entire alliance out looking for an idol.
And they all see it.
And they all see it. And yeah, and Eric like found it and Andrea reaches out and grabs it. It wasn't even like, I mean, sure, she probably said to give it to me and he was like, here. He would have given it to her.
No, he just handed it to her.
Did he?
He grabbed it out and just handed it to her.
Okay. Well, either way, I think it's a smart move by Eric because you don't want all those people knowing you have the idol. And
Agreed.
it does lower your threat level. So, no, it wasn't stupid.
I think, well, they wanted to paint it as stupid because they were waiting all season for Eric to do something.
Yeah.
The show was. And Cochran's like, did Eric learn nothing from last time? It's like, I mean, this is not the same.
Yes, this is what he's learned.
Yeah,
just lay low.
This is not the same.
No,
this is
it's
actually is one of the few times I'm like, Eric doing nothing is actually, this is an incredibly smart move. This puts the target on Andrea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Reynolds gets voted off here.
What?
But
Shocking.
But Brenda, Andrea's like, oh, Brenda's a threat because she didn't let me win immunity.
Mm-hmm.
What? You didn't let Brenda win immunity, so you're a threat? I mean, that's what I'm thinking. Like, this goes both ways. You can't say it only one way.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, she's just looking for an excuse to turn on her alliance because now that the 3 easy votes, I mean, Eddie's still there and she's kind of trying to save Eddie, I think, in her own way.
Kind of, I guess, but nobody really cares about Eddie like that.
I think she thinks, oh, it's a vote for me and we have to vote for each other soon anyway.
Right.
So why not keep Eddie and vote for Don or Brenda? But her reasoning, yes, is because Brenda wouldn't let me win immunity.
Brenda wouldn't just hand me immunity.
Yeah.
How dare she? She's a threat now.
Yeah.
Andrea says we need to blindside Brenda or Dawn, but really Brenda. Eric wins immunity. Notice how, and this time, Jeff's like, or Eric, are you going to give it away? This time he asks him that when he wins. And Eric's like, no, I've learned my lesson because like that's all. Eric has been distilled down to one move. Eric was a dynamic character if you watch Micronesia, a whole person with ideas and thoughts and strategies and has been distilled down to this one little moment on the show. This one episode of one moment from one episode. He's been distilled down to this. And it's like, this is why Eric played the way he did. I don't blame him.
Yes.
I'm a little, I get Brenda's like, let's be more humble approach because that is why she's playing the way she's playing. I wish she was still playing the game though. Because you don't have to, you can be humble and not, and still play the game.
Yeah.
But she's being humble and she, like Eric was just not playing the game as a result. It's like Eric, I get. Brenda, I don't get as much.
I could argue that Brenda was probably still playing a fairly good game that we just weren't shown.
That's what I'm saying. She was. There's BTS of this that I put in her video. Believe it or not, her and Eric both get videos that are longer than Malcolm's because there's so much BTS behind the scenes stuff that the show left out. And it's like, no, like they were playing game. I mean, Eric, not as much. Brenda was playing a game.
Right. That in the long run didn't really matter because she didn't make it to the final 5 or whatever.
My opinion, Eric was never winning. But also, in my opinion, Brenda had a chance with the right final 3 to win. And I couldn't believe it after doing her video. I was like, no way.
Yeah.
The show was like trying to hide this because they didn't want to encourage this kind of gameplay. The show's not trying to encourage you doing nothing and winning. You know what I mean?
She's not doing nothing.
Well, like when Natalie White won, they view that as her doing nothing. She did stuff, but it's not what they wanted her to do. So they highlighted Russell Hantz instead.
Sure. No, I understand that.
It's just my opinion based on what I've seen, especially in this time frame, in this era. We're moving into the big moves era where people actually start talking about big moves. I don't know if it's this season or last season. It's one of these seasons right in here. Somebody, I think for the first time says you need to make big moves to win this game. And it's like, no, you don't.
Right.
That's actually, when was that created and out of your head? Like it's around this time. It's in the 20s. That's the first time it's uttered from my recollection. So I wish I had made a note of who said it and when, but it's definitely in this era. It might have been Cochran for all I know. All right. So he says he doesn't like that Andrea. Cochran says he doesn't like that Andrea's an independent thinker. Of course, she has the idol. She won immunity before. She freely tells everyone she has the idol at tribal. Everybody knew that, but she doesn't play it. She gets voted off. Doesn't play her idol, and people blindsided her. And then she gets voted off. She's like, "You guys." She takes it. She takes it so great.
Yeah.
Andrea this time, as you said earlier, better than Redemption Island.
Definitely.
Redemption Island, Andrea sat on her hands, did nothing, let Boston Rob run the game. Like, did not want to work with Matt to flip on Boston Rob.
Right.
Because Matt was like, came back from Redemption. He's like, let's flip on Boston Rob. Let's do it. And Andrea's like, why would he want to do that? Oh my gosh. Like, that's how Redemption Island went.
Right.
And then this time, I think this Andrea would have done it. So, okay. Episode 13. We are getting close now. We haven't really talked about Cochran and Dawn that much, but Cochran's going to get his own video. They'll talk about a ton there. Eddie says every girl he tries to hook up with gets voted out of the game.
Poor Eddie.
Smallest violin, world's smallest violin.
Yeah.
Come on. Eddie's so great. The whole time, by the way, I want to let you know, while we're watching the season, once Malcolm won, I was like, Eddie's winning.
Yeah,
I was telling Mary,
tell me.
I'm like, Eddie wins this season. But one of these times when we watch a season where you don't know the winner, I'm just going to tell you the winner for the whole time and you're not going to believe me.
No, don't do that, please.
Well, normally I pick somebody who I know is not going to win.
No, I never believed Eddie. There was like one time that I did for like 2 minutes.
There was one time for like 2 minutes Mary believed Eddie might win. I was like, no. And it was so funny. Eddie says every girl he tries to hook up with goes home. Brenda tells Dawn that Cochran is next. And this is when Brenda sealed her fate.
Mm-hmm.
Because like Eric trusting Dawn? Brenda trusts Dawn. Malcolm trusts Dawn, and trusting Dawn just leads to you're going home because Cochran can't go.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Cochran's getting protected by Dawn. Cochran without Dawn, I wonder if he wins the season.
I think so, because we've talked about like how just such a non-threat he is, a non-factor.
Despite winning challenges.
Like. Even though he wins challenges, it's just the way he plays the game is super subtle. If he didn't hook up with Dawn, it would have been somebody else. It would have been somebody that he could have worked with that would have been loyal and his +1 that didn't really have a big strategic mind, you know? I think Cochran is just such a great player, especially this time. He's learned his lessons from his previous season and he plays really well. He plays people around him really well.
But Dawn does protect him.
Dawn does protect him. Yeah. I'm saying I think he would have found another.
You're saying
protector.
He still had a great chance without Dawn.
Yes.
Yeah. Just maybe not as easy.
Maybe.
Cochran has a perfect game. The only other time it's ever happened was JT. JT did an all newbie season when people are falling over backwards, let JT win. Mm-hmm. This season, Cochran gets the second ever perfect game. 0 votes against him all season, and then gets all the jury votes at the end. That's a perfect game as defined by Survivor.
Right.
Everyone has their own definition for some reason, but that's like the official perfect game. Like Survivor laid it out. There it is. Okay. It's happened twice. No one else has ever played a perfect game. I know. So people get mixed up. Like Boston Rob. No, Boston Rob wasn't even close. Believe it or not. He had like 7 votes against him or something like that.
I'm sure he always got votes.
No, Boston Rob couldn't play a perfect game if he wanted to. All right. So Brenda tells Dawn that Cochran's next. Therefore, Brenda's going to be next. Erica's starving and feels trapped on the island. This is where they're hinting because he's going to go very early in the finale. They need to set this up now. They can't just do it all in the finale.
Right.
Eric's starving. Mind you, though, Eric, again, has been on. I haven't kept track of everyone who's been on reward, but he's been on, I believe, 1 or 2 rewards before this. And he goes on reward this episode. But as you said, it could be going in one hole, out the other. And therefore, he's not actually keeping, because he has lost weight. People this season have lost weight.
Right.
Yeah. People have definitely lost weight this season. Brenda, so Eric climbs a tree. It's way too high for coconuts. They like really highlight this, how he just can't get anything. We go to the family visit.
Reward.
Brenda's dad comes out and finally reveals why Brenda's playing the way she's playing the season. Daddy, I've been doing what you told me. I've been playing humble. Jeff, little tear down his eye. Can you tell Jeff has recently gotten married and has stepkids? Because all of a sudden there's a shift here for Jeff.
I thought it was sweet.
I'm not saying it wasn't sweet. I'm saying Jeff is like around this time, I think, got married and has stepkids. And you can clearly tell as Jeff finally is showing an emotion that's not annoyed or funny.
Yeah.
That's usually the emotions you get from him.
Good for Jeff. I'm glad he's a well-rounded individual now.
At this time, he's well-rounded. Jump 10 years, Jeff has gone too far off the deep end with the tear part.
Okay.
The tears are like what Jeff's looking for in the modern day. I'm just saying. Here, yes, well-rounded. Future Jeff, oh, we've gone too far. Go back. Go back.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Because this is the same guy like season 16. What's his name? The Last Fancer's Favorites. Yeah, Jason was like, Jeff's like, are we ready to do the challenge? Jason's like, what are we playing for, Jeff? And Jeff's like, I'll tell you what we're playing for. He gets like annoyed. Like, that's what the Jeff I'm used to. But you're right. Jeff's more well-rounded 10 seasons later. He's gotten married. He has some stepkids. All right. So Brenda wins a reward with her dad. Jeff's like, pick somebody. She picks Dawn. Okay. So when you and I watched this, we missed this, but I went back and rewatched it. Here's how this actually works, Mary. So it's a little more balanced, I guess, than I originally thought. She has the choice to either A, pick one more person to come with her on reward, making 3 of the 6, or B, send 4 of them on reward and her and Dawn get screwed.
Right.
So she could have gone on reward with one more person. I don't think people would have blamed her.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think this was probably a jury move.
It's a crap decision.
But it is a really bad decision.
The fact that there was an option to send 4 people meant Brenda, who just said that, Daddy, I'm playing so humble, like you told me, doing the opposite of being a lost Black Widow Brigade member from last time.
Right.
Like, she's going to pick 4. And I don't blame her. I don't blame her.
I don't either.
But Dawn is falling apart.
Yes.
And Brenda's like, we're going to see our family in 5 days. It's going to be okay. And Dawn's like, and Eric's on the boat. He does like a heart with his arms as he's eating a burger.
Yeah.
And Cochrane's like, oh, my dad's out here like acting like he does the grill all the time. He never does the grill. And like, to be fair, Cochrane's dad does look more pale than Cochrane. So I believe him.
Yeah.
His dad's playing it up for TV.
I think this would have been fine if it wasn't that Dawn was so emotional about it, because Brenda was basically fine. Like, she cried a little bit, said bye to her dad, but then she was fine. Yeah. Because you're gonna
Dawn is what sells this.
Dawn is just so dramatic about the fact that she didn't get to see her husband.
I'm Team Brenda.
I'm definitely
in this
Team
situation.
Brenda. Yeah, Brenda made the right choice.
Yeah,
she did the right thing. And
Dawn needs to pull herself together.
I do think it kind of sucks that the boat was right there in the bay where they could see it.
They knew what they were doing.
They did know what they were doing. But otherwise, yeah, it's like, okay, whatever. I would have been a little frustrated too if I was Dawn. And I can't say, because I've never been on a beach starving for however many days.
For like at this point, 33 days, yeah.
So I get that it's annoying and it's frustrating. But yeah, you just gotta move on.
And you've already done this once before. Like, you already know. Like, Dawn was just, again, she's made it further than she made it last time. Very emotional, as we talked about. Maybe a little traumatized with the teeth thing. And yeah, I mean, she was barely sleeping. I don't blame her for having emotions. It does feel a bit like she's blaming Brenda.
Yeah.
And not like the show put Brenda in this impossible situation. Now, had the show been like, Brenda, you can bring 2 more people, making it 4, or you can send these 4. That would have been an equal situation.
It would have been equal, but then who would have picked that? That's clearly obviously.
Well, okay. So how Jeff would have done it would have been, yeah, you're right. How do you even offer that? Like, you pick 2 more, you can send this 4. That would have been more equal, at least spending 4 either way going. And Dawn, and like, I don't know if that saves Brenda. I don't know. Does Brenda go if let's say Brenda takes Dawn and one other person on reward? Does Brenda stay in the game?
No, I don't think anything. We've learned over and over again, even if you are kind to people on the reward, if you're already on the bottom, it's not really going to save you. I mean, maybe 1 out of 10, it works or helps them. But if you're already on the bottom, you're already on the outs, it's not going to help your game, because this isn't gameplay. It is gameplay. I can't say it's not gameplay, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to save her game.
So remember, Brenda has won 1 immunity. We all remember this. I said, remember, it's going to affect 2 more immunities. It affected the Andrea immunity where she won. She's like, Brenda didn't let me win. This immunity, Dawn's like, Brenda, let me win. Brenda's like, no, let's compete. What is with that? Why is everyone trying to get Brenda just to hand them immunities?
Yeah.
Dawn's like, Brenda, let me win immunity. Like, and Brenda's like, no, let's just compete. And Dawn ends up winning anyways. Yeah, but it's like, is this the final straw? Was it both things?
Wasn't there a confessional where Brenda was like, I could have lasted longer. I really just wanted Dawn to win.
I kind of let Dawn win.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think what Brenda's saying is I didn't have the drive to win. Not that she like just let go on purpose, but her drive to win wasn't as strong because it was just against Dawn.
Right.
Who she thought she was going to the final 3 with.
Right.
Her final 3, Brenda's final 3, Mary, was Dawn and Eric. Does she beat Dawn and Eric in the final 3?
Yeah, I think so.
That's what I'm saying. Brenda had a chance of winning. Her final 3 was Dawn and Eric. Eric is not winning this game.
No.
Dawn has clearly not been liked. We see that in Final Tribal, but also consider what's been said and what's been shown so far of Dawn's. Like, I think Dawn's really respected. She gets Cochrane's vote.
Yes.
I think Dawn gets Cochrane's vote.
Maybe.
But I think she gets Cochrane's vote. I mean, I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised she doesn't get Cochrane's vote. But at this point, it's like, I think Brenda beats Dawn and Eric.
Yes.
And she wins. And the show does not want to encourage that. Because that's but she POs Dawn with not letting her have a reward. And then here doesn't just hand her. Why is everyone expecting Brenda to hand them immunities? I'm baffled.
Yeah, I am too.
Like these favorites who are like expected to be handed. Oh, you've already won one, Brenda. Can I have one? That's not how this works.
No.
Oh, Cochrane's won 2. Why is no one begging him? Because Cochrane's winning a 3rd one later. No one's begging him during that one. Cochrane, you've won 2. Can I have this one? Nope. But they beg Brenda. Brenda gets voted off, and rightfully so, is very upset. In her story videos, you'll see. By the way, right now on Patreon, if you haven't already seen it, Brenda, when she gets voted off, is devastated. I mean, you see it in the Final Tribal, but that's with some few days to recover. She's devastated.
Yeah.
Like, breaking down crying. She's like, I trusted Dawn.
Yeah.
Dawn has broken me. And she's like legit crying.
Yeah.
Brenda legit thought her and Dawn were solid. There was no reason for her to think she's going to be voted off. So episode 14 starts. Eric gets medically evacuated 5th place, same place he got voted out. But did you even give away immunity to Natalie though last time? Yeah. God forbid we forget. This time he gets medically evacuated. He goes out in 5th place both times.
Poor guy.
If he plays a 3rd time, what weird way is he going to go out in 5th place? It's not going to happen.
No.
But let's say Eric was brought back. They're like, they do another medically evacuated season like they did for Philippines, and Eric's on. I would have totally forgot Eric got medically evacuated. He could be on another season if they did that again. Eric gets medically evacuated, goes out in 5th place. What happens this time? I don't know. Something weird has to happen. It can't be normal.
He drew a rock or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that feels too normal for Eric at this point. A purple rock. I mean, it would be a bit weird. That's true.
Nobody's done that.
It's only happened
forever.
3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and at this point in Survivor, it's only happened once. Not spoil future seasons, but it will happen 2 more times as of what we know as of the time of recording the season. But yes, at this point in time, it's only happened once in season 4. So I'll throw that out there. I don't want to spoil anything in the future. All right. Eric gets medically evacuated. Cochrane wins a challenge advantage because they had to, instead of doing a normal immunity challenge, had to do an extra challenge. Kind of like in Philippines when they had a challenge where Malcolm won a challenge advantage. Except this time, Cochrane takes advantage, if I recall. Yes, Cochrane wins a challenge advantage, which instead of having to untie the bags with the puzzle pieces, he was able to just go up the vertical tower thing and just grab the bags and slide down, which gave him a time advantage, but he was clearly crushing the puzzle as well. Yes. Mind you, during this final immunity challenge, there's only one immunity challenge in this episode. No one's begging him. Cochrane, you've already won one. Can I have one?
I would argue that it's different than just hanging on a pole or standing above water where you have time to think and talk. And this one, you're so
Cochrane,
focused.
can you throw the puzzle for me?
I'm just saying.
Cochrane, can you come do my puzzle for me? Cochrane, please, you already had one. I mean, I don't know who said it. Dawn got one at this point. Eddie's not that kind of person. No. Eddie probably didn't even know that this was the final immunity. He's like, what is that? There's a final one? Eddie's like, what? Eddie's like, every point in the game, I just imagine Eddie being asked people like, hey, what happens next to the game? Like,
yeah.
All the cute girls are gone. So like, are we done? Is this game done?
The game's over.
The Survivor's just getting rid of the cute girls, right? Was that the strategy of the season? Brenda's gone. That's the last cute girl. I mean, I don't think Sherry, I guess, is cute for her age. I don't know if cute's the right word, but Dawn, Sherry. He's like, we've off Dawn, Sherry, and then me and Cochrane. I don't know. He's thinking. Anyways, I don't know when he said. I didn't write it down. Now's the time to say it. Here it is. Yeah, Cochrane wins final immunity. Eddie and Sherry don't want Dawn in the final 3 due to her having 6 kids, and I guess she adopted kids and she's cried a lot. But they think she's a threat to win. But we've kind of determined she's not. This is where Eddie drops the bomb. That if he wins the $1 million, he would like to open a dog shelter /pen/bar. Can you explain the concept, Mary?
It's a bar where you can take your dogs with you. And I was like, has he been to Europe? Because that's pretty much all anyone ever
There are cat bars here in America where we live.
There are now cat cafes.
Cat cafes, yeah. It's not bars.
Usually you get coffee and pet cats.
Cats are more meant for cafes. Dogs are meant for bars, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. But also this bar would have like a shelter with it. So you could
drop your dog
save
off?
Dogs.
Yeah.
House dogs.
I see. You could adopt dogs from it.
Adopt dogs.
Go there, get some alcohol, adopt a dog on a whim. That sounds like a bad slew of decisions being made. You're adopting a dog because you're drunk, but that's Eddie's dream, okay? Don't crush it. All right, so we go to final tribal after Eddie gets voted off. Poor Eddie. I don't think he wins, by the way.
No.
Cochrane has this in the moment. Cochrane beats Brenda. Cochrane beats Andrea. Cochrane beats Reynolds. I mean, Malcolm was voted off so long ago. Does he beat Malcolm? Probably. Again, people know Cochrane. People don't know Malcolm. It's hard to forget. He beats Philip. He beats Michael. Like, he beats Corinne. I'm going way back. Julia, Matt, Brandon, Laura, Hope, Allie, Francesca. Who doesn't Cochrane beat? Like, I can't even say Malcolm because I don't think these people knew Malcolm. Like, I don't know. They don't know Malcolm. I think Cochrane beats everybody.
Well, by the time he got to the end of the game, they would have known him.
Final tribal was episode 1. I think Cochrane won already. It's kind of how I felt, but maybe that's inaccurate. Anyway, so we go to final tribal. Cochrane, by the way, who did a Harvard paper. I don't know if you heard about this.
Yes, I have heard.
Did a Harvard paper on how to handle a jury. Does handle the jury well. At least he lives up to what he studied. And instead of selling himself as smarter than them or stronger than them or better than them, despite having won 3 immunities, by the way, though, again, 2 of them were off challenge advantages, put a little asterisk next to
he had
3.
the challenge advantages.
3, 2 with an asterisk is what I'm saying on those immunity wins. Point being is he just tells himself, I wasn't better than any of you. I just timed my moves better because I was paranoid. And like sells it as I made the move at the right time, but it's not because I'm better than you or smarter. Like he doesn't make them feel lesser than. He doesn't hurt their egos in the process of presenting why he's the better option to win. Of course, Cochran already won at this point. He didn't need to do this. He just solidified his, he was winning coming into this final tribal. Nobody was respecting Sherry. Dawn was not viewed as remember, these people are voting for who they want to represent their season. I don't think they're voting for Dawn or Sherry.
I
the way
agree.
It came across.
Yeah.
All right. So Malcolm tells Dawn that she played cold-blooded and she needs to own it. And it's true. If Dawn would own it, Dawn did play a cold-blooded game, but that's not how she wanted to be that's not how she was as a person, though.
No. Yeah. And she kept trying to just but I'm just a good person, you guys. Like, I never wanted to hurt anybody.
And I believe Dawn. That's what she thinks.
I do think that's what she thinks. I think that she can easily separate the strategy from the emotions, even though her emotions seem so overwhelming. So then it's unbelievable when she says, I didn't really make an emotional decision, because she's constantly emotional.
And maybe at the end of the day, it was a strategic decision, but to say there's no emotions involved is also incorrect.
So people just didn't trust what she had to say.
Yeah, I felt like it kind of like Coach would not own up to her game.
Yes. In the same way that Coach didn't own up to his game, Dawn
in
did
South
not
Pacific.
to her game. Yes.
Different people, different games, but still, it's like they got to the end, they both didn't own it. But Coach, I think, could have won. Dawn, I don't think even owning her game was going to win here.
Yeah.
Cochran very good about owning up to insecurities and complimenting people. Compliments Malcolm when he talks to him. Eddie tells Sherry she was carried. Sherry's like, whatever. Sherry's annoyed, dude.
Sherry gets mad.
Yeah. He tells Dawn that she constantly acted weak and would have daily breakdowns. Dawn doesn't really deny this.
Right.
Yeah. But it's another image of what people were really thinking of her. Cochran tells Eddie he sees himself at because Eddie's like, hey, where do you, I think it was Eddie or Reynolds asked Cochran, where do you see yourself if we're at the bar, us 3 amigos? And Cochran's I'm sitting right next to you, hanging out with you.
Yeah. That's what Eddie wanted to see, to hear. Though.
I mean, that's what they wanted to hear. Yeah. He knew what they wanted to hear. Is this truthful? Yeah.
Maybe.
Cochran this season, a little funny. He's at tribal with 2 women. And I think he makes a comment about that. But earlier in the season, Cochran, I think he eats food off of somebody's finger, like Sherry's finger.
Oh, yeah.
And Jeff's how often does that happen to you, Cochran? He's more often than you think. And Jeff's Cochran's the epitome of comedy for Jeff.
It's true.
Cochran makes a comment, Jeff dies laughing. That's just how it works. Anyways, Philip tells Sherry she is not in stealth RS. In case that was her top concern at Final Tribal. She's not in stealth RS anymore. I guess she's not hot anymore to Philip. Says Dawn was too paranoid and he enjoyed Cochran. Eric says Dawn played a destructive game. And then Eric, out of all people, tells Sherry she did nothing. Eric, you did nothing. Eric was trying to present to Sherry, you're not going to win this game because you didn't do anything. Eric, you didn't do anything. Not that that's what you say back to Eric, by the way.
Well,
if you're in Sherry's position.
Yeah, and didn't you say in some of the behind the scenes stuff he was doing some stuff?
No, Brenda was doing stuff.
Oh, Brenda was doing stuff.
Eric had more of a story that they didn't tell, but Eric was not doing any more moves, if that makes sense. Brenda was doing more than was shown. Eric had more, Eric had more of a story, just wasn't strategic.
Right.
If that makes sense. Eric was doing nothing. That was what Eric was doing.
Yeah.
But no, Brenda was doing more, and I think they shameful if they didn't show more Brenda. No, Eric's telling Sherry, it's like the pot calling the, whatever, what is the phrase here?
Pot
calling the kettle black. Yes. Eric, you weren't doing anything. I like Eric, by the way.
Yeah.
I'll be clear when I say this.
It's hard to recognize what Sherry was doing.
But Eric was doing nothing and he openly admitted it.
Okay. What do you want him to say at the final tribal?
He doesn't have to say that. Out of all the things, he doesn't have to say that. He could be like, Sherry, I don't really respect your game. That's fine. But don't sit here and be like, Sherry, you did nothing. How do you expect to win? Eric, come on.
Well, he did nothing. He didn't expect to win then.
Oh, hey, okay. I don't think he ever said that specifically. But if he was if he gets final 3, he's I didn't do anything. I don't expect to win. Fair. Okay, at least he, but Sherry was getting upset. Probably for a good reason.
Oh, visibly upset.
Sherry wasn't, it's true. Sherry post-merge didn't really do anything. Pre-merge, I remember Sherry being a prominent character. But then post-merge, who was Sherry?
Yeah.
That kind of how it felt in the story, so. He tells Sherry she did nothing. She tells him he can sit down. Dang.
Great jury management.
This reminds me of Clay, though Clay Jordan in season 5, when he was a jerk to the jury, still only lost to Brian by 1 vote. People like to hype up Brian's game, but Brian beat Clay by 1 vote, and Clay was telling the jury to shut up and all this other stuff. So not really that impressive. Reynolds tells Dawn he thought of her as a fraud and a phony. So he asks her what she thinks about him, and he's saying that to set her up. So he's like, I want to hear you like be mean, because Dawn's never mean.
Mm-hmm. Well, also he said he heard Dawn tell other people that she thought
things behind his back.
He was a jerk and all this stuff. Yes. Yeah. So she did. She told him what she honestly thought about him in her nice Dawn way.
I was feeling Reynolds' energy here. Like I was like, okay, I've heard you talk about me. Talk about me. Tell me to my face. Just say it. It's okay. And Reynolds wasn't being malicious or anything. I'm like, Eric felt a little salty. I want to point out that both Fans versus Favorite seasons, I know it's covered up better in the first season. The favorites are a little salty both times at Final Tribal, but it gets covered up by the fans being not salty.
Yeah.
The favorites are salty both seasons. Go back and watch first season. You'll see that. We then get the scene. Well, Cochran wins a perfect game. So that's how the season ends. We talked about how only the jury are on stage at the reunion, but we need to talk about the biggest moment of the final finale, in my opinion, is the teeth being pulled out. We talked about it a little bit earlier. I'm on Team Brenda. Sounds like you're on Team Brenda, having her Dawn take out her teeth.
No, I agree with Brenda, because she trusted Dawn so much. She thought that they were in such a tight alliance. She said she dived in this dirty, yucky lake to get her teeth for her. And if she hadn't have done that, Dawn said she would have quit. And she needed to know if that was true or not, because Dawn said she couldn't appear on TV or in front of other people without her teeth.
Multiple times Dawn said, I'm going to quit for real. I'm actually going to quit. It wasn't it was an emotional response, but it seemed legit.
It did seem legit. So, I mean, Brenda just says, okay, so if that was really the case, were you really going to quit? She said, no, I wouldn't have quit. She said, okay, then take your teeth out. I get Brenda's point of view. Is it necessary? Did it help Dawn win obviously Dawn didn't even win the game. So was it going to help her game? No, but this was just like an emotional thing between two people that kind of needed to happen for Brenda to resolve and move on, I guess. So
had Dawn not voted off Brenda and had voted with Brenda, I feel like this would have been completely out of place. But because Dawn turned on Brenda.
No, right.
After Brenda, remember, took her on reward. Brenda goes to Ponderosa. Everyone's Team Brenda, by the way, on Ponderosa. I feel like, Brenda, you're on the right.
Yeah.
And they didn't even know about that. They didn't even know that she was going to ask this, obviously, on Final Tribal. But like, Brenda, you took her on reward. You did this, you did that. Like, Brenda, you should not have been voted off by Dawn. People were already Team Brenda on Ponderosa. So, yeah, we're Team Brenda here. But if you're Team Dawn, that's okay. It's just a difference of opinion. There's no like, I did not witness everything. You know, I was not there on the island of just going by what the show showing me. So we do have some questions from our lovely patrons on Patreon, Mary. Okay. So let's answer some of these. I am not going to be able to pronounce this name correctly, so I'm going to spell it. It's VOLODYMYR. What could have made the season better than it is, Mary? Do you think Brandon alone not being there would have changed it, or is there something more? Brandon alone not being there would have definitely helped. Or Philip not being there. Just them not together, I think. I think so. I think they were too volatile together. So, I mean, if I had a choice, Brandon first, because I think just mentally he wasn't ready. Who replaces Brandon? You pull anyone from the first 25 seasons. Who replaces Brandon? No idea. A male that you want to see back. Can't be a winner, though. You mean who? Woo played in season 28, so he wasn't even on the show yet. Dang it. So that's not an option. Don't ask me these questions. By the way, Woo does play twice, so you'll appreciate that he does play a second time. Anyways, Mary has not seen his second season yet. Mary. First 25 seasons, Mary, not people who play the Tony would be great again. Ethan's on. Okay. I mean, if they had a winner, sure, why not? That would be all. I mean, I'd be down for that. Like a random Ethan would not survive this. I think he would have gone on thread alone. All right. Next question from Billy. Will we ever get a perfect game in the new era? Closest one to it was Gabler, because Gabler was 1 vote off. Yes, we're spoiling future seasons, whatever, get out of here. Like we're in the questions. It's a fair question. Will we ever get a perfect game in the new era? Because this is the last perfect game that ever happened to Survivors, Cochran. I mean, Gabler is 1 vote off at 43. I do think it is really difficult to get a perfect game, obviously. And the new era, anything's possible, but is it likely? Probably not. Right. Now, we didn't watch the whole reunion, Mary, but I'll catch you up to speed. Right. Caleb asked, did it feel so strange and cringe that Dawn was forced to apologize to Brenda at the reunion? I did not watch the whole reunion, so I did not see this occur. Does it feel weird that the show would pressure Dawn into apologizing to Brenda for you? Just knowing that happened.
Yeah, because why? Does anyone else have to apologize to anyone else for backstabbing them?
No.
So no.
No.
Yeah.
Also, Brenda wasn't even there because she was pregnant. I think I told you that.
Yes. You did.
Right. Okay. Because I remember the stage would have collapsed because there's just one too many people. Because the pre-jury couldn't be on it. The stage just couldn't handle it. Yeah. I don't know why she was being pressured and apologizing. I'll have to go watch that reunion to watch that. All right. I see Survivor. Was using Isles as leverage as a strategy a good or bad move? How do you pull off correctly? Using Isles as leverage. I mean, it's always a good move.
Such as when like Malcolm.
I guess that wasn't very specific to the season. That question. I realize now I'm reading.
I never. We have a rule in our house that no, you should never tell anyone about your idol ever until you play it.
That's actually true.
So using
a rule in our house as if we're playing Survivor at our home.
No, anytime it happens on the show, we both immediately say, no, don't do that. You're dumb.
I mean, it works out sometimes, but I think more often than not, it does not work out.
Right.
So it's rule of thumb is not tell anybody.
Right. That is our rule of thumb.
Yeah. All right. Next question is from Laura. Did Eric and Brenda get a fair edit? Do you think Eric, with the strategy he played, got a fair edit? Let's start with him.
It's hard for me to tell without. I haven't seen any of the secret scenes or BTS or whatever from this season.
Just with what you saw. Do you feel like Eric?
I think in general, Eric was fine. I feel like I was left lacking with some of Brenda. I feel like there could have been a lot more that should have been shown.
Right.
Because all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she's a threat and she gets voted
off.
And like I understand that because I've seen her previous seasons. But if you hadn't, you'd be like, why? What has Brenda done? You know. So.
I'm with you. I feel like Eric, sure, there could have been a little bit more shown, but at the same time, like what more was there to show of Eric? But with Brenda, for sure, like she was all of a sudden became a major character once the teeth thing happened with Dawn episode 10.
Yeah.
From there, she's a major character, but like the first like 9 episodes, where's Brenda?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I'm with you. Brenda should have been more of a character. So not a fair edit for Brenda for sure. All right. Shay asked, do you think Eric has a chance of winning if he doesn't get medically evacuated?
In this season?
I don't think so.
No, I
don't think
so.
he wins.
Yeah.
Other people disagree. There's one comment, Alberto saying, no doubt in my mind that he would have won, but I don't know if I agree with that.
He would have had to get Cochran
What's his final 3 that he wins?
He'd have to get Brenda out.
Dawn and Sherry,
It'd have
I guess.
to be Dawn and Sherry, yeah.
It'd be like how Brenda won.
So it'd be a possibility.
But that wasn't his final 3. His final 3 was as well
Brenda
and Dawn.
Yeah.
Dawn screwed up that final 3.
Mm-hmm.
Dawn, I don't know. Dawn wins either. All right. Gabe asked, do you think if Francesca comes back and plays a third time, she's voted off first again?
Oh, my word.
I don't think she's coming back a third time. I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think, if I was her, I would never come back. No.
If Eddie wins the final immunity challenge, they vote off Cochran, does Eddie win? That's the last question from Hunter.
Because nobody likes Dawn and
Does
Sherry.
Does Eddie beat Dawn and Sherry, Mary?
I think Eddie's likable enough that he might. He's so funny.
I think Dawn wins.
But I do think Dawn, it probably would have been closer.
It would have been messy.
Yeah, it would have been messy final tribal. I think
Brenda's not voting for Dawn.
I definitely think Eddie would get votes.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine Eddie legit winning against Dawn and Sherry? Philip is I don't want to like label him. Philip seems to be a little misogynistic. We did say that earlier with, the women will tire, stuff like that. So I want to say Philip would vote Dawn though, because she's a favorite. I feel like that's more important to him than
he's more loyal.
He's going to be more loyal to the favorites. He's going to vote. He's like, Dawn, you were a important part of the stealth
You're
arrest.
a loyal
You're getting
soldier.
my vote.
Yes.
Cochran votes for Dawn, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a few votes for Dawn. Dawn probably wins.
I think Malcolm,
Eddie is on the table.
Possibly Brenda.
Yes, Eddie.
Andrea.
You're right. Reynold. You're right. Eddie. I'm sorry. Reynold. You mixed up. Reynold, Malcolm, and Andrea probably vote for Eddie.
3 right there.
Why would Malcolm feel loyal to the favorites? They were never loyal to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That would have been hilarious. I mean, it's such a bad final tribal.
Yeah. That was
Eddie's like, well, my strategy season was all the hot girls got voted off and it really made me sad.
That was when there was a brief 2-minute period. I thought it might be Eddie because I thought, well, if Dawn gets Cochran out, because they briefly did that. Oh, Dawn was like, oh, I probably should get Cochran out and whatever. And I'm like, if it's Eddie and Dawn,
Mary got upset for a minute.
I did get upset. I'm like, you put me through all this trauma
for
and
Eddie to
stress
win.
For Eddie to win.
I was laughing so hard.
No, I'm glad Cochran won. It felt like the correct winner for the correct season.
On an easier season for him to win, considering what happened and who was there. It felt like Cochran was like, he got overlooked, and it was like, who wasn't he going to beat?
Yeah.
Kind of an easier season for him. So, All right. Well, next season, we are going to podcast is Blood versus Water. Redemption Island is back. Half the cast it's fans versus favorites 3, but with the Redemption Island twist.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that I guess the fans are all loved ones.
Right.
To me, this is the better way of doing fans versus favorites. And in fact, I'm not ashamed. I am sad that they haven't done a Blood versus Water 3.
Yeah.
Like, this is such a brilliant formula.
Water. Yeah.
The second, I think it works best, as we'll talk about next time, when it's half the cast we already know. Therefore, we only need to learn about the other half. Therefore, the drama's built in. We care about these people.
Yeah.
I don't think it works as strongly the second time, but we'll talk about that when we get to that season 2. All right. Well, thank you all for listening. We'll see you all next time. Bye.